Okay, let's talk through all these golf events that you have coming up.
Gabby, I'm glad you asked. Got my calendar right here. July 17th at Red Run, and then July 31st, I have the American Golf Outing for the Cancer Society.
I also have the American Cancer Society golf outing on the 31st, and also I got yours on the 18th, but he'll
Yeah,
I'm gonna be there.
Whoa, boys, these are a lot of events and golf outings.
Well, you want me to miss my own golf tournament?
Gabby, they're all great colors.
I mean, this is...
Hold on. I got this. Guys, I got this. Don't worry about it. Hold on a second.
He always...
Hey guys. Thanks for coming so fast. How are ya? Remember the guys from Randy Wise, right? Sir. The Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour.
Watch for the eye.
Stay tuned.
It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour. Some of the biggest names in Michigan sports, and some, well, not so much. Brought to you in part by Premier Security Solutions, Fairway Packing Company, and Swiss Insurance. Watch episodes at woodwardsports.com.
Good morning, everybody. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. I'm your host, as always, Jeff Iafrate. Alongside me, my partner in crime, Sam Flannel. And in the booth, JB, returning with us. He's going to be here this whole entire week, so I'm excited to have JB back. We got Alex in the booth, as always, and Lucas in the chair hanging with us, per usual. Again, guys, what a morning. It's Tuesday, June 27th here in Birmingham, Michigan, and you look at over the last at least couple days and yesterday with, the Tigers, only 4.5 games out from the division.
Only
that awful division, Sam Flannel. And then you have John Collins being traded to the Utah Jazz. Things are heating up. And then we have tomorrow the NHL draft, which Michael Gentry will be joining us. So I cannot wait for that. But we'll start with the Tigers. Have you been tuning into the Tigers, Sam?
I most certainly have. They went on, obviously, a very, very bad run, but then they take 3 out of 4 from Minnesota at Minnesota, have a good homestand, but that, I'll tell you what, they really needed to get that one on Sunday against Minnesota. That would have put them 3.5 out of first place. They blew that one. They sent Nick Maton down to AAA, but then they responded last night by going to Texas and beating a very, very good Texas Rangers team handily in a game where Matt Boyd went out with injury, by the way, which is nothing good can happen without something bad. And then you watch the Minnesota Twins lose. They are now only 4.5 out of first place. I'm not saying the Tigers are good. I'm not saying that they are going to actually compete for the division, but I'm not going to poo-poo a team that is this late in and only 4.5 games out. I'm still going to watch. This is one of the worst divisions I've ever seen, and the Tigers actually have a shot at winning it. And pretty soon, you're going to get Eduardo Rodriguez back. You're going to get Riley Green back. It looks like Tarek Skubal and Matt Manning are about to return soon. So watch out for this Detroit Tigers team. They're going to be interesting for a little while longer. I would have thought they would have been out of it by now. Not quite.
And I think that's the main part to take away is I thought they'd be out of it by now. But even with Erod and Riley Green, can they actually contend for this division? I know they're going to float, and they're always going to be about 4.5 games, and I think that speaks to how bad the AL Central is. But even with Erod, Riley Green returning, and I know people get their hopes up, well, we'll get those guys back, we'll be even better. But realistically, Sam Flannel, I think that the Tiger season this year at least they've lived up to what I expected, 34-43 on the season, a little under 500. I can't be too upset with that. I didn't expect this team to do wonders, Scott Harris's first season. But I will admit, just them being, I guess, in the AL Central conversation, only being 4.5 games out, although they needed to win Sunday, you're right, it's been fun watching the Tigers. I can't, even with the lack of talent they have, they still win 7-2 yesterday. So regardless, whatever the Tigers do, whether they contend for the division or not, I don't give a damn. I don't have the same expectations I think other people do. Because I know a couple people that think, hey, Jeff, watch out. We're going to get Riley Green back. We're going to get Erod back. We're only 4.5 games out. I'm like, dude, stop.
Yes.
Stop giving your hopes up. Sam, you're not one of those guys, though.
No, well, here's the thing. They are still a bad baseball team. There is no getting around that. Joey Wentz has been an absolute disaster as a starting pitcher. Matthew Boyd has been a disaster. Spencer Turnbull, when he was healthy, was a disaster. Alex Faedo, when he was healthy, has been a disaster. Eduardo Rodriguez was pitching at a Cy Young level, but he's been out for about a month. And Riley Green was the only real person who was really taking that step forward for the Detroit Tigers, and he has been out for about a month.
Right.
Spencer Torkelson has had another subpar year where his on-base percentage is under 300. Javi Baez, we all know that he is a complete disaster. Amongst all that, though, they're not out of it. They should be worse than they actually are. This should be a 25-win baseball team right now, but they just keep finding a way to win these close games. A lot of that has to do with their bullpen and guys like Alex Lang and Jason Foley.
And appreciate you guys for sticking with us. I want to go through some of these people that are chiming in here on the Tigers. Real Cream of Wheat says, did Baez even play?
No, he's
that's a good question. He is the highest paid player on the Tigers. That is correct. Shout out to Zach. We got in the chat as well. Jack Harrington, as usual. You got Shane D, John Lord, Philip C, Mike G, per usual. Zach, Lucian, excuse me. Chris B. Shout out to everybody for tuning in. Again, if you're watching live on our YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already. And if you're on the website, check out our wonderful articles from all our talented writers, merchandise, and so much more. But again, I want to move on to the John Collins trade because when I first saw this yesterday, he was dealt to the Utah Jazz for a second-round pick in Rudy Gay. The first thing that popped in my head was, could the Pistons have gotten John Collins for a similar deal? And I want to ask the people, would you have wanted John Collins instead of James Wiseman? If you can go back and trade Sadiq Bey and a second-round pick for John Collins, he is under contract. He has 3 years left, around $25 million annually. So it's a hefty contract. He has a player option in his final year. So regardless, you get 2 years of John Collins, probably a third if he opts into that. Would you have rather have John Collins instead of James Wiseman for Sadiq Bey? I'll let you answer that.
You know, in a vacuum, absolutely 100% unequivocally, yes. I don't know if unequivocally is a word, but I just made it up. Yes, 100%. But we don't live in vacuums. Here's the thing about John Collins. It depends on the John Collins that you're going to get. Obviously, he's a 6'9" forward who can play both the power forward and the small forward, guard multiple positions. At times in his career has been that scoring wing who can play off ball, shoot the three, cut, all that good stuff. John Collins at his apex 100% is a player that I would want on the Detroit Pistons and would fit a need. Because people seem to forget that he had 2 consecutive seasons of averaging 18-plus points per game and 40% from three. That is all well and good. I would take a player like that on the Pistons any day of the week, and we'll talk more about that later when it comes to free agents, for example. But last season, John Collins' year was an abject disaster. He only averaged 13 a game while shooting 29% from three. I wouldn't want that player anywhere near my basketball team. I mean, not even for a bag of chips.
No, well, so not even a bag of chips.
Not even a bag. That is the dilemma with John Collins. But here's the thing. You've seen how good that he can be, how valuable that he can be. I mean, even in that 2020 season alone, he averaged over 21 a game on 40% from three, albeit in only 41 games, but still a lot of that had to do with a COVID shutdown and everything like that. So, yes, my final answer is I want them to get a wing either through trade or free agency. And I don't know if James Wiseman necessarily is still going to be on this team when they are ready to win. He did some nice things last year. I think he averaged 13 and 8. But there is a bit of a logjam at the big man position when it comes to the Detroit Pistons. So with all that being said, I would have rather had John Collins than James Wiseman.
And B. Blair says, first time in the chat live, shout me out. I got you, B. Blair. Appreciate you for tuning in. Appreciate you for chiming in, too, in the chat thread. And to address the John Collins stuff, no. And I'll just say that. It has nothing to do with what I think John Collins will be, but to your point, John Collins, and Chuck put it perfectly here. He says 4 years ago, sure, gone down every year since. That contract, too. Like, Wiseman, to me, it has a higher upside. Now, whether he'll reach it or not is up to him, but he's significantly cheaper. I mean, you owe James Wiseman this year $12 million. $12 million. John Collins is making 26 this season. Like,
No, I mean, that's the
like,
difference.
so there's my problem. And for a guy in John Collins, who, again, whether you're getting John Collins or James Wiseman, either of those guys, John's a more proven player, but regardless, they're going to be, your third, fourth option, regardless of who you take. So I'm not paying $26 million for a guy like John Collins, who hasn't been the most dependable, and he's still tied up 3 years, $80-ish million, $90 million? Hell no, I'm good.
Well, that's the thing. Now that the Utah Jazz have him and he's no longer in play, I look at it as maybe the Detroit Pistons can keep James Wiseman and he can continue to develop, and then they can get one of those free agent threes like a Cam Johnson or somebody like that, which is a need for the Detroit Pistons. That is all in play. The Pistons have the cap space to do it, and now it's time for the Pistons to move on. I'll tell you what, though, I kind of like how he's going to fit in with the Utah Jazz. I know the Utah Jazz, their biggest concern is they don't have a point guard. I think right now their point guard is probably Chris Dunn, who I talked about him being one of those number 5 overall pick busts a couple of shows ago. Right. But he's at least showed some things. I think he averaged 6 assists per game last season. But the Utah Jazz took 2 players that I really like in the draft, in Taylor Hendricks and Bryce Sensabaugh, who can shoot the lights out from 3. Also adding John Collins, who at his peak can shoot the lights out from 3, to add on to a team that has Lauri Markkanen, who really emerged as a star last year, averaging 26 and 9 on absurd 50, 39, 88 shooting splits. Lauri Markkanen averaged 26. I mean, you know what's funny, though? I was a big Lauri Markkanen guy, and I thought that his time to become a star had passed, but he became one in Utah. He was the most improved player, and rightfully so. Jordan Clarkson had the best season of his career, and Walker Kessler. You know what's funny about him?
Walker Kessler.
You know, I know you like to poo-poo him because he probably shouldn't have had an All-NBA rookie first team over Jaden Ivey, but I'll tell you what. You know what the Utah Jazz basically did? They traded away Rudy Gobert in what is going to turn out to be a disastrous trade for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And they got a ton of picks in return, I believe 4 first-round picks. And the guy that they slid into his slot, Walker Kessler, is basically a approximation of what Rudy Gobert was, and he can only get better.
And they just threw him in that deal, too, Walker Kessler. They just said, here, you can have him. And he ended up working out pretty damn well. It turned into Walker Kessler, that pick. So it worked out for the Utah Jazz. I give Walker Kessler a lot of crap because if you average 8 and 8, I don't know if you should be a first-team all-rookie over Ivy, but I get what he does defensively. Utah, what they got in their starting lineup now, Walker Kessler, John Collins, Lauri Markkanen, like, look at where the NBA is going. Those are 3 guys that are 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot, and you're starting them. You'll probably start all 3 of them.
Absolutely. You got Jordan Clarkson, and that's the thing. They got 3 guys recently, both in the draft and with a trade, that can shoot. I mean, John Collins, obviously, last year, notwithstanding, he was horrible from 3 last year, but he has shown some things, and obviously, you and I wanted Taylor Hendricks on the Pistons. The Utah Jazz got him. I mentioned Bryce Sensabaugh. He was even a better three-point shooter in college than Taylor Hendricks, and now the Utah Jazz got him. So look for them to maybe sneak into the play-in in the West next year. We shall see. But the John Collins dream I don't know if it's a dream for anybody, but the hope of John Collins coming to Detroit is now over.
Yeah, if you're dreaming for John Collins, I don't know what to tell you. Well, you know what I will tell you, though. Gabby will be back tomorrow. She just texted us today. She's not going to be here today, but she'll be here tomorrow, just to clarify that. But we're going to go to break. Sam, can you tell us about our friends over at Lady Jane's?
Oh, absolutely. Of course I can. That is where I get my haircut, where I go to any of the amazing stylists who always have me looking this good every single day. And as I mentioned, every day I got to look good sitting next to studs like Jeff Iafrate, Jeremy Bryant, Lucas Klotz, and Alex Westfall. And how would you like to win a new vehicle for you and a friend? That's right, a new car for you and your wife, girlfriend, or best bud. Just get to Lady Jane's and automatically register for your chance to win, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
The Sports Marketing Agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Welcome back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, and Alex Westfall. We got a packed show for you guys planned today. In a little bit, I want to get to the Cam Johnson report because you see that floating around. Pistons are all in on Cam Johnson, and I want to give my opinion on that. I want to see if Sam Flannel, whether he agrees or disagrees. I can't wait to hear it. We're going to get into later in the show, too, some Lions as well. Hard Knocks, the New York Jets are hosting Hard Knocks officially. I can't wait to break that down with Sam Flannel, his guy Aaron Rodgers. I can't wait to see that greasy son of a gun, man. I can't wait.
Greasy son of a gun? What does that even mean?
I got Aaron Rodgers. I got Sauce Gardner. I mean, the amount of personalities you got on the Jets, by the way, in that whole season, I cannot wait. New York is a perfect team. I've been saying that.
Oh, yeah.
I've been consistent. And now it's official. It's the New York Jets. We're going to get into that later in the show. And we're going to get into something Lindsey Hunter said also in the second hour about the Pistons yesterday. And if you didn't catch it on Big D Energy, you're going to want to stick around because he said something about the Pistons that I thought was super, super interesting. And you guys are going to be able to either call them crazy or say Lindsey Hunter's onto something. So we'll visit that later. But right now, I want to get to the Cam Johnson stuff. Do you have the tweet, Alex? It's a tweet talking about Cam Johnson. And if you do, you can put it up for me. But basically, it's a tweet by Evan Siddery, and he reports the Pistons plan to make an aggressive push for Cam Johnson, potentially a $100+ million deal in free agency. That's what's expected to be offered. It says in quotations, Detroit can offer 4 years, $100 million comfortably, and a little bit more. Johnson has already a strong bond with new Pistons head coach Monty Williams. That's the explanation. Now, my opinion on it, and we've talked Cam Johnson ad nauseum. We've talked a lot about him, and I think that's the number one guy for Pistons fans. When you talk about free agents, it's always Cam Johnson. He comes up first. He fits a position of need. He can shoot. There's familiarity there with Monty Williams. He would play perfect alongside Cade, Ivy, Duren. But here's the question, though, Sam. Is he worth over $100 million for Cam Johnson? And I'll ask you that question. There's the tweet. And Sam, I'm going to start with you, and I'll go around the room to this.
All right.
You're Troy Weaver. You planning to make over $100 million offer sheet to Cam Johnson in free agency? Because you're going to have to overpay him to get him here.
You definitely are going to have to overpay.
$50 million?
Not quite that much average annual value, but Smokey, I get your point. And you know what? Absolutely, I'm making that type of an offer sheet to Cam Johnson. I am not thinking twice about it. You mentioned it before. Cam Johnson is a restricted free agent, so the Brooklyn Nets can match any offer, which means you have to overpay. But I think Cam Johnson, at this stage of the Pistons rebuild, would be a perfect complement to guys like Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, particularly Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, who are both emerging young playmakers who could use that three-point shooting wing in the corner or just to get open and play off ball. And I think Cam Johnson is that perfect candidate. And obviously we know that the Detroit Pistons have the cap space to make a big deal like that. And here's the thing. We all love Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duren, myself included. But here's the problem. Cade Cunningham, for his career, is a 31% three-point shooter. That's very, very bad. Jaden Ivey, despite showing a lot of promise towards the end of the year, ended the season as a 34% three-point shooter, which is average, maybe a little below average. I wasn't mad about that percentage for Jaden Ivey, though. And Jalen Duren, we all know that's not part of his game. It may never be a part of his game. Cam Johnson, for his career, is a 39% three-point shooter, and that is a position that the Pistons desperately need. Last year, the only real reliable three-point shooters on the team were Bojan and Alec Burks to some extent. But Bojan, we don't know if he's going to be on the team very much longer, and Alec Burks, he's not a centerpiece of a team that is going to win anytime soon, or at least Alec Burks won't be on this team when they're ready to win, at least in my opinion. And here's the thing about Cam Johnson, too. he has that familiarity with Monty Williams, as you mentioned. I mean, last year overall, he had the best season of his career during time that was split with Phoenix and Brooklyn. He averaged 16 a game while shooting 40% from three. That is phenomenal. That is exactly what the Pistons need. But not only just that, up until he got traded to Brooklyn, Cam Johnson played his entire career under Coach Monty Williams. And he got better pretty much every single season. And he developed into a damn important piece on those very, very good Phoenix Suns teams. I mean, in the 2021-2022 season, Cam Johnson averaged 13 per game on 43% three-point shooting. That is obviously a scorching hot three-point percentage, no doubt about it.
Right.
But even during his time with just the Suns last year, not even the Brooklyn Nets, just the Suns, he averaged 14 per game on an absolutely absurd 46% from three, which he only played 17 games for them, but still. My point is that Cam Johnson is exactly what the Detroit Pistons need right now. The Pistons have the cap space to do it. And I think Cam Johnson, even giving you what he did last year, the Pistons are flirting with the play-in if you get Cam Johnson. And that's why I think you absolutely make an offer sheet to him and make the Brooklyn Nets match.
I think the pairing is perfect. Cam Johnson to the Pistons. You got Monty Williams. Again, he fits perfectly around the rest of your young core. He could shoot. You just kind of went through the statistics. He's played in the NBA Finals with Monty Williams. He has that experience. He's 27 years old. Like, there's a lot of things to like about Cam Johnson. And if you pay him $100 million, we'll just base it off that. It could be a little more, which that's where it gets even more scarier for me. But let's just say at $100 million for about 4 seasons. So you're looking at about $25 million annually. And I think it'll be more than that, but let's just say $25 million. He'll be your highest paid player at the moment. Now that'll change in the future. Obviously, you're paying Cade $12 million this year, $11 million, Ivy $7.5. Like you have young players, so obviously he's going to be the highest paid player. But Bojan, if you sign Cam Johnson to that long-term deal for 4 years, over $100 million, we assume that Bojan's going to be dealt at that point, because again, and Chuck put it perfectly, he's basically Bojan. He just plays better defense. He can shoot the ball. He's a better defender. He's younger as well. That's underrated. He's about 6-7 years younger. I don't mind Cam. I want Troy to be hesitant with Cam, because if you overpay for a guy like Cam, who again, I think even when you're at your peak as a team, he's going to be your third, fourth option. I don't know what Cam's future looks like in terms of what he develops into. I think he's about what he is. He's about a 15-point per game scorer. He can shoot the hell out of the ball. He plays solid. He's a good defender, especially on the perimeter. Like, there's things to like about Cam, but I think $25 million is about the number I'm willing to pay him. Now, if you're talking 30, a little over 30, I'm out on Cam Johnson. I don't think Cam, it's a make or break with Cam Johnson. I still think if you want to keep this money available or keep your team flexible in case a star becomes available or someone becomes available you could trade for, that works too. But I think Cam Johnson, signing him would be more just, not desperation in a bad way, but he's the best free agent in a weak free agency market. Like, you're not getting James Harden. You don't want James Harden.
No, you don't.
Cam Johnson's the best perfect fit. And you have cap space. You have the fifth most cap space in NBA free agency. So I don't mind it. I just don't want the Pistons to overpay for a guy that I think will be, in his career, always your third option. He's never going to be better than that. Like, can we agree there?
We can definitely agree.
Is there untapped potential in Cam Johnson at 27?
I don't know if there's untapped potential. I think at his best, Cam Johnson could maybe average 18 a game on 42% from three, which would be phenomenal. And those type of numbers on the right team are borderline all-star. But I don't think he's ever going to be anything more than the third best player on a championship team, maybe even ideally your fourth best player on a championship team. My thing is just the Detroit Pistons just don't have a lot of reliable shooting, and you never even know if Cade Cunningham's ever going to become a reliable three-point shooter, Jaden Ivey.
That's the other part of it too, because we've talked about shooting on this team, and the biggest complaint for Asar Thompson was, where's the shooting?
Right.
But people don't understand, Cade Cunningham shot 40% coming out of college, so he's a much better shooter. Now, the injuries in his rookie year that, again, put him in that bad slump to start the year, never really recovered from it. The second season had one leg. So we haven't seen Cade a full healthy season and seeing what he can do. I think he'll always be near 40%. I think he could be a 36, 37% three-point shooter. Ivy has shown he could be a 35, 36% in his career. I think those guys can hit that mark. I don't know. I think shooting's important, but we look at teams, at least the Nuggets, for example, they could shoot, but they can also defend.
Yes.
Like, you need to be able to get stops, and the Pistons cannot do that. So Asar Thompson, Cam Johnson, that's why it's interesting to me. I just don't want the Pistons to get themselves in a situation where you overpay for a guy who, again, it's more about, it's the perfect fit. You have Monty. Like, Cam Johnson to me isn't worth $30 million. And I've been consistent. I don't think Kuzma's worth $30 million. I think Jeremy Grant to me is the only player worth that money because he's a much more versatile defender, and he's about the same caliber of shooter. But Cam Johnson to me, that's the guy I expect them to go pay. I mean, if you look at free agency, it makes too much sense not to go get him. I just don't want Troy to overpay for him. That's all.
That's fair. And just for the record, I would also be probably more happy if they went after Jeremy Grant over Cam Johnson, because Jeremy Grant, the season that he had last year, I know we'll get to him more later. We're going to talk more free agents, but I would be okay with that as well. Cam Johnson to me isn't the end-all, be-all. It's just I think they're at the stage where they need to go get someone that is available with their available cap space. I get Cam Johnson is a bit of a risk, and there are other options out there, which we'll get to later, that maybe are cheaper and give you similar value. I really like the prospect of Cam Johnson on this team. I mean, you mentioned it with Asar Thompson. The thing is about Asar Thompson, I think he's going to help with perimeter defense right away, but he didn't show much as a three-point shooter, at least during the Overtime Elite regular season, although in the playoffs he actually showed that he could hit the three-point shot, at least for a 5 games sample size, 39%. That is very, very good. Right. So Cam Johnson, I just want more shooting on this team, and the fact that he is available, I would make that deal. I don't know if I would do 104 years, 120, but I think 4 years, 100. Give me that any day of the week.
I'm going to read some of these comments, too. Thomas says, Cam Johnson is just another Otto Porter Jr. Wow, and he's a solid role player, but I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Chris Tannerman says, whoever you get is going to be the third option. Spend the money, anything between $26 and $28 million is fine. I agree with that.
Hey, smart man.
JB, what do you think about Cam Johnson? You like it? You hate it? $100 million?
$100 million is a lot, man.
$100 million man.
I'm telling you right now, I'm thinking over this in my head, and you guys are both right. Money and how it's spent with the Pistons are going to be the biggest issue right now. Now, don't get me wrong, $100 million, it doesn't sound bad, but if I want to keep that at the max.
Yeah.
Try and sit here and see where Brooklyn is going to be like, all right, you know what, that's a little too much. And you might be able to get Cam Johnson at, 22. You might not have to go to 25 all the way. Whatever you can do to sit here and save money for the future, for future assets that you're going to have to sit here and spend on Duran, Cade, and Ivy, that is and should be the plan. Wherever you can penny pinch and save to keep the rest of these guys back here long term, then that's what you got to start with. So if Cam can come here for 22, we save a couple million, I'm all down.
Well, listen, Sam, I mean, I would assume that if you're going to spend over $100 million, you're going to need some sort of insurance.
Oh, 100%. If you don't, that is just tomfoolery. But if you get insurance, you obviously got to go with Swiss Insurance, because if you are planning or sponsoring a golf outing this year, ask Swiss Insurance about hole-in-one putting contests and $1 million shootout coverage. For a very affordable amount, you could give away a huge prize like $10,000 or a brand new car. Help build your business with big ideas. Check out Swiss today, swissins.com, or call Mark at 248-800-4177. That is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Thanks for sticking with us. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, and Alex Westfall, joining us per usual. Sam Flannel, we got done talking about Cam Johnson, which, again, great.
Yeah.
And we'll get into some NFL talk later in the show as well. But I want to stick on it because there's a list that came out, and this is per Pistons talk. One of my good friends, Anthony Colombo, he posted this graphic. And Alex, if you have it, it's the top 5 free agents for the Pistons. And we kind of went through this yesterday, but I want to speak more on the players we didn't get to because there is guys. Cam Johnson's nice to talk about, but that's not the only free agent available the Pistons are going to target. So, Alex, if you have it, throw it up for me. This is the list. It has Cam Johnson on it, to no one's surprise. But the other players it features as well is even better. Harrison Barnes is mentioned on that list, which we'll get to as well. But again, and I'll send it to Alex. But I want to talk about this list. It was just posted yesterday, and it has the statistics and everything according to it. And I'll just read it off. Number 1 is Cam Johnson. Number 2 is Jeremy Grant. Number 3 is Kyle Kuzma. Number 4 is Chris Middleton. Number 5 is Harrison Barnes.
Yes.
So you notice a common theme here with all these free agents. They play a position. They have strengths and weaknesses that kind of fit all similar. What do you think about it? Well, we already covered Cam, but I want to ask you about Chris Middleton and Harrison Barnes. Any interest in either of those guys?
This is a tough one right here because I'll start with Chris Middleton, obviously. Chris Middleton, he's an enigma right now because he has reached heights in his career that none of these other players have reached if you combine their careers, if you combine their entire careers. Chris Middleton is a 3-time All-Star. He was the clear second best player on a championship team. And if Chris Middleton keeps it up and bounces back from last season and has a couple more great years, Chris Middleton might be a borderline Hall of Fame candidate someday. And none of these other players are. The problem with Chris Middleton, though, is that he is coming off of one of his worst seasons of his career and one of the least healthiest seasons of his career. Last season, Chris Middleton averaged 15 per game, which was his worst since 2017. He shot 44% from the floor, which is a career low, and 32% from 3, which is the worst he's shot from 3 in a season since his rookie year with the Pistons. And we all know that he just had a cup of coffee with Detroit and then went off to Milwaukee. But the thing about Chris Middleton, though, is when he's been good, he has been an all-star. He has been borderline an all-NBA player, I'd say, for a couple of his seasons. And last year, he only played 33 games, which was also the worst since his rookie year with the Pistons. When it comes to... And also, I wonder if it comes to Chris Middleton, if he's just found his basketball nirvana in Milwaukee and will want to stay there for the rest of his career. As of right now, I would think about offering Chris Middleton a deal, but the thing is, he might cost too much because of his track record. I would not overpay for Chris Middleton. I will just say that. Harrison Barnes, though, is interesting because I think he's one of those guys that you might be able to get a little bit cheaper than some of those other guys. And when you hear Harrison Barnes, I know a lot of you will instantly just cringe and say no, because I think Harrison Barnes is one of those guys whose value has been a little bit underrated throughout his career.
Right.
Harrison Barnes last season averaged 15 a game on a very good Sacramento Kings team on 30% from shooting from 3, which is a very, very good year, which is a type of production that the Pistons could use from a guy like him on their team next year.
Well, the cost for him won't be as significant as some of these other guys. And that's the biggest interest part for me.
Well, and that's the thing that's more appealing about him. And also, he played 82 games last year. And Cam Johnson, one of the knocks about him is he does have some problems staying healthy. And not only has Harrison Barnes did what he did last year, but he has had 6 seasons in which he has shot over 38% from 3, which is very, very good. And it shows he's been consistent. And he has career averages of 14 points and 5 rebounds on 38% shooting. And like you said, he might be a guy that you can get on the cheap. So I think with all that being said, I think I would actually rather consider a guy like Harrison Barnes over Chris Middleton, because I think Harrison Barnes you could get cheaper, and Chris Middleton, he just might be on the downswing of his career. I mean, Chris Middleton was not good last year, and he was mostly hurt.
No, but he's still a Hall of Famer, though. Fringe Hall of Famer.
You know what? If he has a couple more years, but it's looking less and less likely that he's going to do that.
I want to read this comment by Chuck. He says Middleton is a Hall of Famer, but Ben isn't.
Chuck Brewer, I knew that was coming from you. Yes, I mean not yet,
Dude.
not yet. I said could be a fringe Hall of Famer.
What would Chris Middleton possibly have to do? He's obviously out of his prime. What would Chris Middleton have to do to become an NBA Hall of Famer that he hasn't done already? That would put him over Ben Wallace.
He would probably have to make a couple more All-Star teams. Probably have to make
That's
an
not
All-NBA.
happening. It's not happening.
It probably won't happen, but just a couple of years ago he made an All-Star team. He was hurt most of last year.
For him, I think he would need,
he would need another ring for sure.
He would need new knees.
It's
new knees.
Done for.
And then we'll talk about
That's
it then.
fair.
But I want to get to JB. JB, you look at this list. I'll read them off. Cam Johnson, Jeremy Grant. If you could put it up one more time, Alex, just so everyone gets context. Cam Johnson, Jeremy Grant, Kyle Kuzma, Chris Middleton, and Harrison Barnes. When you look at the list, what do you think about Harrison Barnes? Because you haven't really spent time talking about him, but it's a cheaper option.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind it.
I wouldn't mind it either, especially as what Sam says. You could probably get him for a lot cheaper than what his contract is right now. 4 years, $85 million. Pass on that. And somewhere I also read that Kuzma wants a 4-year deal worth up to $80 million, which I don't think he's worth.
He wants
that either.
like $30 million.
Oh my god!
Which is absolutely mind-boggling.
Come on now, are we serious about
What have you
this?
done?
Exactly. What have you done lately? The only two people I can see on this list are Jeremy Grant and Cam Johnson. The rest of this list, pass. You can try and pawn that off on some other team, but pass for the Pistons.
Yeah, and when you look at this list too, like that's my problem. Is like Cam Johnson it seems to be the guy for the Pistons, but here's the problem with being the guy is it seems like it's all or nothing. It seems like it's Cam Johnson or bust. And I don't think that's the case. I think you look at this list of forwards, and although I don't want Kuzma, I'm cool. I'll pass on Kuzma because I think he'll ask for too much money. There's still a couple guys on that list that I would like too. Jeremy Grant, we've spoke ad nauseum about. I like Jeremy Grant a lot. Chris Middleton, besides needing new kneecaps and new knees, I don't think he'll come to the Pistons. I think he's going back to the Bucks. That's what I think. Yeah, no. I think Brook Lopez is going to be the one that signs elsewhere. I think Brook Lopez is going to be the one that either signs with the Rockets or something, and the Bucks will bring back Chris Middleton. That's what I think. But when you look at this list, Harrison Barnes to me, it's a solid option. You can start. You can come off your bench. He's going to be significantly cheaper. He's not even old. What is he, 31?
He's 31.
So a guy for a guy who shot around 37, 38% in his career from three, I'll take it. I think people get too obsessed with Cam Johnson or bust, Lucas. I think that's the case.
I mean, in a way, I'm very high on Cam Johnson just because I think we should overpay for him because if you overpay for him, like you said earlier, he does everything Bojan can do and more, especially on the defensive side. He can go off the dribble. And if you sign Cam Johnson, he can do everything Bojan can. So Bojan right now is at his peak trade value. He's only going to get worse as an overall player from here. So I think you sign Cam Johnson and Bogey's what like $19 million a year. So you take that, find a way to ship him off and bring in more young, doesn't even have to be young talent, bring in more veteran talent that can give you more besides shooting on the defensive side.
No question.
That's where I'm landing.
No, you're right. I think that's part of it too. Even for Bojan, you're paying him $20 million a year, but he can't defend.
No.
So if you're paying 25 for Cam Johnson and he can defend and he's younger, to me it's worth it. Now, once you get to 30 million, 32, 33, whatever it is to try and draw him away from the Brooklyn Nets, because I think the Brooklyn Nets would be able to match anything around $100 million. I'm not willing to do it, nor will I even entertain it. So I'm putting my foot down. I'm defending Harrison Barnes here. I don't know.
What is Harrison Barnes?
I don't know. I don't know if it's the hill to die on, but I'm doing it.
I wouldn't.
What
is Harrison Barnes? When have you ever been like, oh, Harrison Barnes, he's nice?
Listen, what I watched from the Nuggets this past season is I watched role players be a big reason why. You have star players. You need guys that you can depend on. Harrison Barnes has a ton of experience in the NBA, and I feel like he's somebody that come playoff time or just in general, somebody you can depend on. Not saying he's going to be your second option, but Bruce Brown, for example.
Bruce Brown I could get down on. Pause,
yes, and again, you need guys like that. And if you want to poo-poo on Harrison Barnes, go ahead and poo-poo on him.
I'm poo-pooing on Harrison Barnes for sure. I'm selling.
But yet
he drops off in the playoffs consistently.
I'll tell you,
he plays worse.
If he would have, I wish he would have made that goddamn game-winning shot against the Golden State Warriors and eliminated them in the first round. But
he was bad in that series.
But at the same time, I like how
no Warrior slander here. No Warrior slander.
I will slander the Warriors. But you know what? Now is not the time. We can have that discussion later, JB. But I just don't understand how you're just like, oh, Harrison Barnes, absolutely not. But then Bruce Brown, who for the first time in his life averaged double figures last last year. You're just like, oh yeah, Bruce Brown 100%.
Because he's younger, he does more on the defensive end, and he brings a little bit of juice to the roster. Harrison Barnes, he's going to be jogging up and down the court the whole game, and he's going to be chucking up threes from the corner, which he's going to hit 3 out of 10 times. And in the playoffs, or the bubble, if we somehow get there, I don't trust it.
It's just I don't want to break the bank for Cam Johnson. Like I don't mind Cam Johnson,
that.
But that's my worry. Like it just because you have money to spend doesn't mean you spend it all on a guy like Cam Johnson.
And I'm with you, but what is? Well, we'll go in the middle because you say 25 and then there's 30. So you pay 28 for Cam.
Yeah.
What is that compared to paying 19 for Bogey? Realistically,
I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. You're paying 20 for Bogey. You're paying 28 for Cam Johnson. I'm cool with it.
I feel like you're almost overpaying for Bogey at this point.
Well, Bogey's going to be dealt, and that's what I expect to happen. If you sign Cam, you'd assume, regardless if you sign Cam or not, you're going to eventually deal Bogey. There's going to be a contender out there that's going to want Bogey, and you could probably trade him away for some assets, but you also clear up the $20 million. So the 28, if you're paying him 28 to 30, I'm cool with Cam. I think that I'm more hesitant at 30, but I'm cool with it. I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
Like D-Mac always says, if I get the why, it's easier to digest, and I have the why. So it's not like I'm appalled by it, but damn, seeing what this franchise has done in the past, it's hard. I mean, can you blame me for being scared to overpay somebody like Cam Johnson?
Of course I can't blame you, because you never know if Cam Johnson, like we said before, he does have some injury concerns. We know that he's at his absolute best will be the 3rd best player on a championship caliber team. I would argue probably 4th on a real championship caliber team. The question is even this year, and I'm somebody who, like Lucas, I would overpay for Cam Johnson. Jeff, how much better do you think Cam Johnson makes the Pistons as soon as next season? Do you think they're flirting for the play-in?
See that now? That's an interesting question.
Yes.
What does Cam Johnson's impact look like? I don't know. Couple wins better. Like I think Cam has an impact, but it's not like we're bringing. I mean, one of the better players in the NBA here.
That's true.
But that's not his role. You're not asking him to be that. I think Cam, you at least get the starting lineup set. You know, Cam's going to start the 4. You know, Duran, Ivy, Cade, obviously. Maybe Asar starts at the 3. Like, I like that starting lineup a lot, but how much better does it make the Pistons? I don't know. I mean, that's hard to quantify. I don't know what Cam Johnson... He's probably going to average what he's always averaged, about 15 points, 7 rebounds, gave you 40% from 3. We know what he is. So I think he makes them better, but there's other players I think you can go get that makes them even better. But we'll see.
Like I said, I would be perfectly down for Jeremy Grant, just for the record. I mean, with Cam Johnson too, though, and with Jeremy Grant for the record, everybody's talking about how Boyan is just a traffic cone on defense. He absolutely 100% is. Cam Johnson would make them exponentially a better defensive team, even though I wouldn't say he's an elite defender. He is eons better as a defender than Boyan Bogdanovic. And I think at some point in his career, he could average a similar amount of points and shoot the three-point shot just as well.
And some of these comments, too, I want to get to. Again, Jay Hart says, pay Cam Johnson. He's our big fish signing. Then we signed Kelly Oubre, who played his best basketball under Monty, and approve a deal, and see about P.J. Washington. See about a P.J. Washington trade. Interesting. I see this one, and this was an interesting question. The New Age says, Pistons are better than people realize. Look at the roster, not the record. That's a good point.
Pat Bev's a free agent?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Bring him in now.
Get Pat Beverly.
Bring Patrick Beverly to Detroit right now. Put him on a vet's minimum.
Pat Bev's a bum.
Put him instead of Killian. Oh, my.
Ooh.
Watch how much the roster would play better.
You know.
Send out Killian. Bring in Pat Bev. You now got a veteran presence instead of a rookie.
Well, I like this comment by David. David says, who makes them more better on the list than Cam? Now, that's a good point. Because if it's between Cam or Jeremy, I don't think the drop-off's that significant. I think if you're talking who's the best forward available, to me it's Grant and Cam Johnson. I don't think it's Cam Johnson then everybody down below. It's pretty close. But he does have a point. Cam is the best forward on paper available in free agency, but I'd still rather pay Jeremy Grant.
Is he, though? I think Jeremy Grant's better than Cam Johnson
at
at
this
point
in his career.
As an overall player, probably.
I would agree, but people would say Cam is for Pistons fans, he's the big fish.
And I still think
he's the guy.
And I think just because he's a shoot. Oh, my bad.
No,
I would think just for Pistons reasons, it's because of how elite of a shooter Cam Johnson is. And I'm not saying Jeremy Grant can't shoot, but the Pistons need shooting so bad, and that's what his primary ability is. And Jeremy Grant, I mean, he can really do it all, but he's just not that type of shooter.
I love this comment. Donovan Strong says, why bring in Pat Bev when you have Sasser?
Put them both together. Imagine those two.
Oh my gosh. What is up with you and Pat Bev?
Pat Bev. Every team needs a Pat Bev.
No, they don't.
Especially in playoff time. Like, imagine Pistons this year, 35-40
They
games.
traded Bev away and got better.
Bring him back. You have
Lakers
Killian.
traded
You have
him
Killian
away
right
and got
there.
better.
No.
Bring in Pat Bev.
pass.
Every team needs a Pat Bev.
I think you just.
I'd rather have Pat Bev than Harrison fucking Barnes. I can tell you that much.
All right, on that note, let's go to break. When we get back, I want to talk about the running back position in the NFL because I see it more and more often it being quoted as devalued, which is so true. And Melvin Gordon spoke about this at length, and I want to read some of the things he talked about and how we can fix this issue, if there is even a fix. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Guardian Alarm, guys, because listen, they got customized solutions from real experts, 24/7 professional monitoring and technology backed by people. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT for more information.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
We're off. It's almost the second hour of the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, and Alex Westfall. Guys, again, if you're watching live on YouTube, leave a like on the stream, hit the subscribe button, and if you're watching on the website, check out our latest articles from all our talented writers. I know Broder's in the chat, and he just dropped an article actually this morning, I believe. But again, check out the merchandise. JB's wearing the quarter zip. Look at that. Look at that quarter zip.
Oh, yeah. This is cool.
I mean, JB's
you got to check out the shop.
You have to. Yeah, you have to. And again, guys, if you can't watch the show live, you can go back and re-listen on Apple or Spotify, any podcast app you listen to. But I want to get to the running back problem in the NFL. And Melvin Gordon talked about this in an interview, and he spoke a lot about it. I'll read some of the things he said because it is kind of sad in a way when you think about it, where the running back position has come from over the last 30 years to where it is now. Melvin Gordon said, "I still want to play. I still got some tread left on the tires." Then this is via an interview on the Jim Rome show. He said, "Coach Andy Reid kind of sat me down and told me, you could still play. It's about the right situation. It's so tough for running backs right now, man. You have a lot of running backs out there, and we just don't get no love. It's literally the worst position to play in the NFL right now. It literally sucks." A lot of literallys in there. "I'm just staying ready because I know what I can do. I know once I get to camp, or in any camp, I can turn some heads. I know what I need to do. I know my mistakes that I've made." Oh, we've seen them. You fumble the hell out of the ball. And you also have to correct them. But I'm ready to go. I'm just staying ready. It's hard, though. It's hard training knowing that you're not going to be on a team. It's tough mentally. But I talked to some players that went through it, and I'm just taking their advice, being a sponge, and it kind of helps you get through it. Now, you see also, not even just Melvin Gordon, but you see the whole Saquon situation. They paid Daniel Jones before Saquon.
Oh, yeah.
Like, think about that for a second. They gave him the franchise tag. Derrick Henry is getting the same treatment kind of now. It's been a while for Derrick Henry, but he's getting it now. Zeke Elliott being one of the highest paid running backs and now a free agent. Like, Sam Flannel, what the hell is going on with the running back position compared to where it was 30 years ago? And is there any fix for it? Or are they just, is everybody going to start telling their kids, do not play running back? Do not do it.
At this point, I would actually argue that you should tell your kids to not play running back, because I've got some numbers when it comes to the running back position and their value on winning teams, which are pretty damning, I will just say that. And not just that, how much they get paid compared to top players at other positions. The last time that NFL's leading rusher was a part of a Super Bowl winning team was Terrell Davis in 1998, not even in this century. And that was a Broncos team which had 10 Hall of Famers, including John Elway, Shannon Sharp, 10 Pro Bowlers. John Elway, Shannon Sharp, 3 offensive linemen, and Steve Atwater, although Terrell Davis was probably their best player. He had over 2,000 yards. Since 2010, only 3 of the 13 Super Bowl winning teams have even had an 1,000-yard rusher. Not the leading rusher, at one 1,000-yard rusher. That is absolutely insane. And not only that, The highest paid contract for a running back in terms of average annual value is $16 million per year, and that is Christian McCaffrey. And we would all agree that Christian McCaffrey is among the best running backs in the NFL, especially arguably the most complete running back when it comes to running and catching the football. So Christian McCaffrey, $16 million a year would make him the 18th highest paid quarterback behind Jimmy Garoppolo and slightly ahead of Jordan Love. Ooh.
That dude out of my face. I don't want to hear about Jordan Love right now.
Well, Christian McCaffrey barely has a higher average annual value on his contract than Jordan Love, and that ought to tell you something. Christian McCaffrey would be the 20th highest paid wide receiver, just behind Hunter Renfrow, and just ahead of Allen Robinson. I hate Hunter Renfrow. Anywho.
Why?
What is there to slander against Hunter Renfrow?
Continue. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. Continue.
You know, if we have time, I'll get to my Hunter Renfrow.
Okay. All right.
Okay. It would make $16 million a year, would make Christian McCaffrey the 17th highest paid offensive tackle, right behind Garrett Bowles and slightly ahead of Orlando Brown Jr. Now, this one is a real doozy. Christian McCaffrey's salary would make him the 16th highest paid edge rusher in the NFL, behind Emmanuel Ogbah and slightly ahead of superstar Zach Allen. Ooh. And, like I said, I could go on and on. Christian McCaffrey, his $16 million a year contract would make him the 14th highest paid defensive tackle, behind Cameron Hayward, good player, great player.
Solid player.
And slightly ahead of Dalvin Tomlinson, who I like but is no star. And it would also make $16 million a year would make Christian McCaffrey the 9th highest paid corner in the NFL, behind J.C. Jackson and slightly ahead of Carlton Davis. And to round all of that up, when it comes to the hell that running backs are going through, relatively of course, Christian McCaffrey as the highest paid running back when it comes to average annual value of contract is not one of the 100 highest paid players in the NFL. That is the value of the running back position as of right now. It's looking bleak for him.
And that's the cream of the crop right there.
Yes.
For Christian McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey.
And that's the problem, right? With running backs in today's NFL, you got to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield.
Yes.
You got to be a reliable pass catcher. That's why I love Jahmyr Gibbs so much. David Montgomery's shown that ability. That's where the NFL's heading. It's a pass-heavy offense. It isn't compared to back in the day. You look at, through the 90s and even the early 2000s, you'd see 3-4 running backs being taken in the first round. It's just not happening. You might get one. The fact that we got 2 last draft is incredible. It just doesn't happen. And the fact that you got 2 is because Jahmyr Gibbs, to me, is just a weapon. So that's why he was taken. And Bijan Robinson, as much as he is a bell cow back, he still has upside in the passing game. So you see a common theme here for running backs. Even Christian McCaffrey, who's one of the premier running backs in the league, we know what he can do in the passing game. So that's where the NFL is heading. Now, for a solution to this, I don't have one. I mean, the league is just more pass heavy. You got to be able to do multiple things. And for running backs, is it more guaranteed money? Is it a different set of rules for their contract so they don't just get cut without, any repercussions from it? Just you're done, like Zeke Elliott, now he's a free agent. There has to be something for running backs to get some sort of benefit, because it is tough. I mean, you get ran to the ground essentially.
Yes.
You got no knees left for Zeke, and then you just get cut. Like, it is a terrible situation. But Lucas, I think this is the reality of where the NFL's going at the end of the day.
Yeah, the reality of it is the whole NFL is getting more diverse at each position. So if you want to be a running back and you want to have a way to get paid, you have to do the Christian McCaffrey, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon even. He's not even getting paid, and he's probably one of the best backs in the league when he's healthy. And even when he is healthy, he went off last season, and they're still not paying him. I think in the NFL, if you are going to be a running back in this league, you have to be a receiver as well, because that's your best way of being like, you need to pay me a little bit more than what the other guys get paid, because I can catch the ball out of the backfield and take it to the house. Compared to David Montgomery's in the NFL, those are the guys that are fucked. They have no chance to ever increase that salary, because the position for their needs is going to get lower as it keeps going on.
Like, for a guy like Donta Foreman, he's just going to be passed around the league.
Yeah, he's going to be a little like fucking slut.
Yeah, well,
you get passed around. That's why he's going to be an NFL slut.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how this works. And I know the New Age just brought up. He put a great comment in the chat. He said Deebo Samuel, and it's kind of the opposite, where you get a wide receiver who's also playing running back, which Yeah, no, that's not a great idea. And Debo even knows that. If
Oh,
you're going to
yeah.
make me play both, you better pay me like both, like Christian McCaffrey. I don't think there's a solution here, JB. And I know running backs, at least in today's NFL, where the game's going offensively, you look at the Chiefs. I mean, to have a 7th-round running back and you win the Super Bowl, you talk about positional value, you got to go through some positions till you get to running back. I mean, you just do, JB. It's not the same. It's not where it was 10, 15 years ago. And I don't think it's going to get any better. I really don't.
I don't think so either. I think things have changed. Things have evolved a lot more to where, as you guys have all said, you have to be that multi-purpose back now. Now you have to also block out of the backfield. You have to catch passes. Now, hell, at some point, you might even have to throw the ball. You might even become a quarterback at some point. You have to be a Taysom Hill type of person. So, unfortunately, I don't think that can involve a little bit more money, but it all depends on that type of player that you have at that running back position. So, if I had a kid right now, I'd tell him, hey, try out to be a kicker or a punter, because running back is not the option for you right now.
Or backup quarterback.
Absolutely.
Backup quarterback, yes.
Make millions of dollars.
100%. I agree with everything you said, JB. And JB, you and Lucas just both brought up something about if you want to be a running back in the NFL who gets drafted high and eventually gets that high-paying second contract, you have to be able to run the football and catch the football out of the backfield. Nobody does that better in the NFL right now than Christian McCaffrey, and even him, relative to other NFL players, isn't making a huge bag.
Yeah.
I mean, I gave you the number. He is not even one of the 100 highest paid NFL players right now.
I agree with you. My thing is, I think the NFL, the running back is going to become a little bit more valuable than just what it is at this present moment, because I think every draft class we're now going to see 2 or 3 Jahmyr Gibbs going in the first 2 rounds. So now they're going to have a little bit more leverage than what they do right now, like the Melvin Gordons, where it's like, you can't catch. I just watched you fumble 6 times in the matter of 4 games last season, and you're old. Yeah, there's no reason to sign you because you're not bringing anything to the game that's new or refreshing that we need right now. We can go get that for, like you said, Deontay Foreman. Bring him in. He can do the same thing that Melvin Gordon can.
No, absolutely he can. And I actually have some more numbers on how bleak it's been for running backs right now, as opposed to star running backs versus guys that you can get in the draft at pretty much every single round, or just random guys. For 11 straight seasons, at least one rookie running back has had an 1,000-yard season. Ooh. And in 6 of those seasons, multiple rookie running backs have had 1,000-yard seasons. And let me give you some names of rookie running backs who have, some notable names of rookie running backs who have had 1,000-yard seasons. And I wonder if you guys even remember some of these guys. And this is just since 2012. Alfred Morris. Doug Martin,
the muscle hamster. My!
Wait for this.
Doug Martin was a dog.
Wait for this one. Eddie Lacy.
Eddie Lacy.
Eddie Lacy was a fat fuck.
Yeah,
running all the way to the buffet.
Absolutely, but he had a couple of good seasons. But anywho, I don't even know if you guys are going to remember this guy. Remember Jeremy Hill?
Yeah.
Jeremy Hill for the Cincinnati Bengals. He had a 1,000-yard season.
Fumbled away their playoff hopes.
What about the guy who was kind of the David Montgomery before the David Montgomery of the Chicago Bears, Jordan Howard? Remember Jordan Howard?
Jordan Howard.
He had the 1,000-yard.
Jordan Howard is mid.
He is mid. Kareem Hunt, who obviously I think he kind of got in his own way when it comes to his career. I think he was trending to be great, but still.
Shout out Toledo.
Yes. What about Leonard Fournette, who obviously was a big-time prospect, but even Leonard Fournette, he has fallen woefully short of expectations, but even he had a 1,000-yard rookie season. What about this one? This might be the cream of the crop. What about Philip Lindsay of the Denver Broncos?
That's an interesting one,
Remember that guy?
And here's the problem too. Even all the guys you name, Sam. How do you call it a success when you draft a running back in the first round like Leonard Fournette? You get a couple of years out of him, and for the rest of his career, he's just mid.
Yes.
Like for Jahmyr Gibbs, how do we quantify it's a successful pick? And that's why I always say you got to look at it as not just a running back, but also a receiver. Because for guys like Leonard Fournette and Zeke Elliott, who's a top 10 picks in the NFL draft, you might get 3. And Zeke coming out of college was ridiculous.
It's phenomenal.
When he entered the NFL. Immediately, day one, was one of the best backs, if not the best back. But look at his timeline. You get 4 or 5 years out of these guys, and forever it's essentially over.
Yeah, well, with Zeke Elliott, his first 3 seasons in the NFL, he led the league in yards and rushing yards per game every single one of those years. And in his 3rd season, he had over 1,350 yards.
Right.
And ever since then, in his 3 seasons since, he has had one 1,000-yard season, and it was 1,002 and a couple of very, very mid years. So your shelf life, if you're a running back, is not very long. And you look at the same thing happened to Todd Gurley. One year he was peak apex MVP candidate Todd Gurley. The next year he was basically washed. That is the life of an NFL running back, and it's sad. But it is the reality. And if I had a son who was an up-and-coming football player, which I don't know if that's ever going to happen because he's not going to get any athletic genes from me, I would 100% discourage him from being a running back. And you mentioned something interesting I want to respond to really quick about Jahmyr Gibbs. We obviously know the Lions drafted him to be a weapon.
Right.
The one thing that kind of concerns me a bit when it comes to Jahmyr Gibbs and the expectations is I think a lot of Lions fans are getting comfortable with the idea that maybe he's more of a, thank you, Sheila, more of a gadget kind of player even at his apex. At some point, if he wants to live up to the draft class, at his draft status, at the very least, if he's not going to be a consistent 1,000-yard rusher, he has to be Alvin Kamara. And I think that when it comes to a first-round running back, you have to eventually demand excellence out of him. And I don't think that Lions fans are yet. I think they're looking at him as just a piece that can help the offense, which he will. But still, when you're a running back drafted number 12 overall, that's such rarefied air right now.
No, and again, you talk about demanding excellence. I think we know a place I can always demand excellence from, JB, and that's our friends over at Big Boy.
Oh, it definitely is Big Boy because Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. Try the classic breakfast items like the strawberry hotcakes or those mouth-watering red velvet waffles.
Not
but
the waffles.
If you're not into breakfast, why don't you try the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with their refreshing summer splash salad? But you cannot leave without dessert now because they have the very delicious classic strawberry pie, the deep fried vanilla Oreos, or of course that strawberry hot fudge cake, and so much more at your local Big Boy.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
Welcome back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you for sticking with us. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be with us here on the Morning Woodward Show. Yeah, JB's got the beats, man. Always on point. Never misses.
JB Smooth.
JB Smooth.
Simply put.
JB, after the show, I'm gonna have to get that drop from you because I'm gonna play it on BDE later. This is smooth AF.
Yeah,
I got you.
There's a reason people think we just call JB Smooth just to call him JB Smooth. Like, no, there's reasoning behind it. Like, the man's on point. Yeah, he's on point at all times. Jeff Iafrate, your host, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, and Alex Westfall. Guys, I want to get to this ranking on ESPN I found yesterday for the Detroit Lions. And essentially what it is it ranks situations, and it takes into account wide receivers, tight ends, running backs for 2023. And it was written by Bill Barnwell. Mm-hmm. And his explanation for it, and I'll just kind of give you a summary a little bit.
Bill Barnwell.
He writes... let me just explain this in his words. He said, I say could and not will, of course, because this is a thought exercise. I'm not trying to project which team will have the best offense. Instead, I'm trying to separate out a team's playmakers. It's running backs, wide receivers, tight ends exclusively, and to estimate how they would perform outside of their current offense. In other words, if we gave every team an average quarterback, offensive line, and play caller, and had them play at an average pace, who would have the league's best offense? So this isn't quarterbacks or anything. This is just weapons situations around the team's respective quarterback.
It would be like if it was the Chiefs. No Patrick Mahomes. It's Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Kelce, Kadarius Toney.
Absolutely.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm understanding this.
Yes. So I'm going to walk you guys through it. You'll see where the Lions are ranked. So I'll go through some of these rankings. So I'll go the last in the NFL is the Houston Texans. So C.J. Stroud. You're fighting an uphill battle there. Toledo native hates C.J. Stroud.
We won't get on the C.J. Stroud.
Surprising.
No chance.
Houston Texans comes in at 32. Now, I'll go down a little bit, and I'll give you some nuggets of where some other teams are ranked. The Green Bay Packers are ranked 28th. in the NFL for situation. Makes sense. A lot of unproven guys.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a great situation for anybody. Now, we're talking offensive line, of course, the run game, but in totality, it's not the best. So 28 comes in at Green Bay. We'll go down here. 27, the New York Giants. So you get where these teams are ranked. Now we'll start getting to some interesting ones. Denver Broncos at 24. Okay, we'll keep going. The Rams at 23. The Jets at 22, which I thought was interesting because that's receivers. Yeah, 22 in the NFL for their situation. And can you guess, you want to take a swing at where you think the Lions are ranked? I just gave you some context.
The Jets are at 22. Is the Broncos at what, 24 you said?
Yes.
He's going to have him bottom 15 for sure. Probably, I'm saying around like 18 to 15 somewhere.
Okay, 18 to 15. Okay, so we'll go 18. I'll read it off. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which to me, actually, that's a great. If you take the wide receivers,
take out
ends,
Baker. You take out Baker, you're in a good situation.
Which they don't factor in the quarterback. So this is just the weapon. 17 is Chicago. Okay, Chicago is 17. And coming in at 16, Detroit Lions.
It's fucking disgusting.
One ahead of the Chicago Bears. And I want to try and explain this, and I'll write what Bill Barnwell wrote about the Lions here and why he has them as the 16th best situation, I guess, with, again, only running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. This isn't offensive line or anything like that before everybody freaks out. So he has the Lions ranked 16. Last year, they were 17th in this ranking. So they move up one spot. Lucas, and I'll read it. He says, it pays to nail a fourth-round pick. Amon-Ra St. Brown was the 17th wide receiver chosen in the 2021 draft. 4 of the wideouts taken ahead of him have already changed teams before their third season in the league. Players such as Tutu Atwell, D. Eskridge, and Terrence Marshall were drafted 2 rounds before St. Brown came off the board. And again, I want to read what he writes about the running backs. He goes, While talk of using running backs in the slot is overblown, the Lions might have no choice but to give first-round pick Jahmyr Gibbs meaningful role in the passing game to take some of the early pressure off St. Brown. Gibbs should have an immediate role in the offense and eventually take away the job of the primary free agent addition, David Montgomery. So basically, they just kind of gas up some of the players. They don't really write why they have the Lions where they have them. They wrote in here Jameson Williams. They mentioned him, and they said the Lions are going to need him in 2023. He's expected to ascend into the starting lineup. We know all that. He says it would be hardly a surprise if Williams, who has yet to play more than a quarter of the snaps in an NFL game, doesn't become regular in the Lions lineup after the Week 9 bye. So he mentions Jameson. He gives credit to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He gives credit to Gibbs and David Montgomery. He didn't really mention he mentioned Sam Laporta, which he wrote he struggled with drops and plays a position that rarely produces impact rookie campaigns. So kind of just Sam Laporta just caught a stray there.
What's this dude's name? Bill Barnwell?
Yeah, Bill Barnwell. So I'll give it to Sam first. Is that fair? Lions are ranked 16th, and I'll read you some of the teams that are ranked ahead of them. The Saints are 14, the Steelers are 13, and we'll go Browns are 12. Las Vegas Raiders are 11th.
The Raiders are 11?
Floor is yours, Sam. I'll get to because Lucas, I'm going to get to. What do you think, Sam?
I mean, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams. I'm just saying those are 2 players that are better than anyone the Lions have when it comes to skill positions right now. So that's
Josh Jacobs is overrated as hell. He's
Josh
in a contract year balling out.
Josh Jacobs led the NFL in rushing yards last year. Those are just the numbers, Lucas. I know.
And by the way, to defend I can't believe I'm saying this, but to defend the Raiders, Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. I mean, that's
okay.
Dude,
Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing last year.
Yeah, he did
on a contract year, and we see players all the time have their variable type years on contract years. Do you really expect Josh Jacobs to repeat what he did last year?
It's not about repeating, but can you think he'll be?
Okay, so take last year. Look at the years before that. The dude was mid, and he had one crazy season where the Raiders' offense was just an anomaly as a whole. It was either Devontae Adams going off or Josh Jacobs. And now they got worse. They just lost Derek Carr. That offense is going to take a step back. There's no way that they can keep up that performance, and especially Josh Jacobs.
No, although I don't think you're off. I don't think Josh Jacobs will repeatedly lead the league in rushing. But you have to take into account last season. Like, you have to. Amon-Ra had a great season last year, but we're not going to diminish that.
I think if you take into account last season and you're going to depend strictly on last season, then fine. But if we're being truly realistic,
yes, Josh Jacobs to me has not shown over the course of his career.
He's like consistently. He's like at 10.
Yeah, lead the NFL in rushing, but they are taking that into account. I mean, they drafted Michael Mayer. You got Devontae Adams. Again, they have decent pieces. They just traded or signed. I can't remember what it was. Jacoby Myers as well to the Raiders. So decent wide receiver core and tight end group and running back room. But what do you think, Sam?
All right.
Lions too high, too low? 16.
So this is one of those both things can be true things. I do think the Lions offense has the potential to be top 5 in scoring in the NFL again. That of course is factoring in Ben Johnson, the offensive line, the fact that Jared Goff obviously knows how to execute that system to a very, very high level, which he did last year. But when you just look at weapons and tight ends and running backs and wide receivers, I don't think this ranking, just when you look at them all in a vacuum, is that off base. One of those players is a star, and that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think we all agree in this room that Amon-Ra St. Brown, if he's not a top 10 wide receiver, I think he's somewhere in that 11 to 12 range. I personally think he's about number 10 right now. That is fair. But then you look at Jameson Williams. Obviously, I expect Jameson Williams to be great, but he hasn't proven anything. When you look at some of the projected weapons that I think for the Lions are going to be very good and very effective, they haven't proven anything yet because they're rookies. You look at Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs. We think that they will fit into this offense and do very well, but according to this criteria, we're not including the offense. We're just including them alone as just offensive pieces. And I know, Lucas, you're going to flame me for this, and you did bring up a lot of good points to counter what I said about David Montgomery as opposed to Jamal Williams. Obviously, when David Montgomery was first signed here, I was right along with everybody else who thought that he was a clear upgrade over Jamal Williams.
You still agree with that, correct?
I do agree with that. I don't think he's a downgrade. I think Bill Barnwell said that. I think that's a little bit insane. But the way that Lions fans were talking about it, and Lucas, I know you'll appreciate this because you love Latino women, as do I. That's why I married.
It's the only way to roll, baby.
That's why I married a woman whose mom was actually born in Cuba. Lions fans are acting like Jamal Williams to David Montgomery is like going from dating Lena Dunham to Sofia Vergara, and that is not true. David Montgomery was up. No Lions fan anywhere, not you, Jeff Iafrate, not you, Lucas Klotz, not you, Jeremy Bryant, not you, Alex Westfall, going into this offseason was clamoring for David Montgomery, because even though David Montgomery has a more diverse set of skills than Jamal Williams, and I think is a better back, his career in Chicago for the most part has been relatively mid. I'll tell you what, it hasn't been as good as Josh Jacobs has been in Oakland.
I'm so happy you just brought that up. I'm so happy you just compared him to Josh Jacobs.
Because Josh Jacobs is clearly better. He's eons better.
If you want to say clearly, as of right now, that is fine. But if you look at the situations and what they were doing, David Montgomery, I wasn't clamoring over David Montgomery because I didn't think there's any way that Chicago was going to let him go because what he's done for them. If you look at the statistics, you're like, yeah, he's been okay. But if you actually watch the games, David Montgomery makes such a difference.
Yeah, no, continue. I didn't want to interrupt you.
It just, I'm going to try to just try to just understand how you do not find David Montgomery as a complete, I would say if Jamal Williams is probably like a level 4 running back. David Montgomery is like on the fringe of a level 2, and if you don't think so, just watch how he does behind this offensive line where he's not in literal hell. Like, for one, we were just taking into account that in Chicago, especially during the later in the season, it's just snowy, it's outside, it's terrible fucking condition. Josh Jacobs is playing out in a dome in LA in the games where they're just, the only thing they were doing is feeding him. Justin Fields was running every play. They had to utilize David Montgomery completely way than they're utilizing Josh Jacobs. So that argument is beyond me. But my question is, where do they have the Ravens offense in this? Because this is the offense that bothers me more than anybody.
So they have the Ravens one above the Lions. They have them at 15.
What do the Ravens possibly have that is more elite than the Lions?
You know what?
OBJ out of his prime.
Well, here's
Rashad Bateman.
No, you're right.
Mid.
Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews is all they have, and I would take Amon-Ra St. Brown, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Marvin Jones. Just keep going.
Stop it.
I'm saying that lineup right there over Mark Andrews as like leading it. If your best offensive threat is a tight end, then you are just playing 1980s football at this point. The Lions literally had a top 5 offense last year.
Yeah, and again, this is my problem. The Baltimore Ravens last year were ranked 25. So they go from 25 to 15 with what? Odell
OBJ and Zay Flowers.
Which I think Zay Flowers will be fine, but here's the problem I have is the Lions, where they're ranked is because Sam Laporta and Jameer have not played. So I get that. We don't know what they're going to be. We have confidence in what we think they'll be, but if you're ranking them nationally, you really don't know. But if that's the equation, then why are the Ravens 15? Because we don't know what Zay Flowers is going to be.
I'll tell you what, though.
So that applies to both.
Rashad Bateman is nice, but
Rashad Bateman's
injuries.
nice.
But I'm around St. Brown's better than Rashad Bateman.
100%.
So...
But Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews in combination are
Whoa,
pretty
hold
good.
on. No, we're not just going to act like this is like a 1-2 combo. Rashad Bateman has not been a 1,000-yard receiver. His first rookie season, he got hurt. I think Rashad Bateman is a great route runner, but he's not a number one wide receiver. And Mark Andrews is basically Michael Mayer. At this point, Mark Andrews is probably peaked out, and he's going to start to decline eventually. I'm not saying he's going to suck this year, but Mark Andrews, like, it's not like he's going to change and become some elite player that we haven't seen already. You can say... Jamison Williams, you've seen that with Jahmyr Gibbs. We're going to see David Montgomery playing his best ball. And you go to fucking Baltimore, that's what you're giving me? Not you, Flannel. I can't stay on this list.
No, and that's okay. And I'm not clamoring for the Baltimore Ravens offense. And Rashad Bateman, I will give you this. He hasn't been able to stay healthy, and he hasn't shown a whole lot yet, and that is fair. But Mark Andrews, I still think you have to give him the respect as definitely, at worst, probably the fourth best tight end in the NFL.
He is.
It's something like that. But yeah, J.K. Dobbins has never been able to stay healthy. He's never really lived up to that
Gus
promise.
Edwards.
Now, by the way,
Gus Bus.
The Gus Bus.
Now, this is what frustrates me, and that's what I love about lists. And the reason why we talk about him is just to make fun of him, to be honest with you. Like, you have 15. You have the Ravens ranked at 15. And you just got done, Bill Barnwell, talking about how David Montgomery is a downgrade from Jamal Williams, which that I disagree with. I just do. You look at the situations. You look at the players. Like, it's ignorant to say that. But anyway... He has the Ravens at 15, and he writes in here, J.K. Dobbins has averaged just under 6 yards per carry as a pro. Like, the dude hasn't been able to stay on the field. So, like, that matters, too. If we're going to take into account projections, then how can we project J.K. is going to stay healthy?
I mean, it matters, but to be fair, David Montgomery has had 2 seasons in which he's averaged less than 4 yards per carry.
Okay,
so
my God.
Oh, my God, that matters. Under 4 yards per carry is terrible.
If you're going to say he's averaging 4 yards per carry, okay, be like, that's really bad. But now let's look at why these 4 yards per carries are happening. It's because this dude is just getting run in between the tackles every play. The one that's getting all the high yards per carry, the 5.1 yards per carry is Khalil Herbert, because he's having the DeAndre Swift role and David Montgomery had the Jamal Williams role. If you look, I guarantee each play, DeAndre Swift had more, whether it's through the air or on the ground, he had more yards per carry, more yards per catch than Jamal Williams, because they're different players that are being utilized different. Now you're plugging in a better running back with Jamal Williams and David Montgomery, and ideally the same situation that he had with Jamal Williams, and he's going to perform. He's going to be at least at 8, at the bare minimum, because Jamal Williams was a touchdown merchant, and I think they're going to try to use Laporta and Gibbs more in the red zone than they used anyone last year. David Montgomery's probably be 8-10 touchdown guy, 1,200 yards, easily.
Yeah, no, I actually don't disagree with that. My thing, too, is that Jamal Williams was 1,066 and 17 touchdowns. People
now look at why that is happening.
Okay, though. but you're saying that David Montgomery's numbers aren't even going to be that much better. And I get David Montgomery's a better back. I understand that. But it's not like going from Lena Dunham to Sofia Vergara.
It's like having David Montgomery had everything go wrong for him situationally. Jamal Williams in Detroit had everything go right for him. So now if you meet that in the middle and you just take the raw players that they are and plug them in, it's literally just like a formula if you're going to look at it. And David Montgomery has more than Jamal Williams has right now.
Sure he does.
I'll tell you what, we're going to continue this conversation because I think there's something here that I want to get more into. I like the conversation, what we're having now. But before we do that, Sam, could you tell us about Randy Wise, our friends over there?
100%, because what could be better than watching celebrities like Braylon and celebrities like Braylon and Darren McCarty, who we work with on a day-to-day basis. Such an honor. Playing golf yourself and being treated like a celebrity.
Wait, did you say day-to-day basis or day-to-day Davis?
Oh, you're funny. I cannot wait until his Hall of Fame enshrinement. I can't wait till his Hall of Fame enshrinement, and I'm just going to give all you guys the finger. But anywho, playing golf yourself and being treated like a celebrity, which I certainly am not. That's what. Stop in any Randy Wise dealership for your chance to play golf like a celebrity. VIP transportation, free golf to one of Michigan's best tracks, and a tasty steak after that. Compliments of Fairway Packing Company. Make the wise decision and get to Randy Wise today for your chance to win.
Love Woodward Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, Alex Westfall here in the studio with us. Thank you guys for sticking and enjoying the show. If you can do us a kind favor and like the stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching on the website, go ahead and check out our wonderful articles from all of our talented writers and plenty of merchandise that continues to get dropped. New merchandise comes out all the time, new designs. Go check it out. If you can't catch the show live, go back and listen via any podcast app you got, Spotify, Apple Music. Do it. Leave a 5-star review, Sam.
5-star.
For his
5-star.
flannel. Do it.
The black one.
David Montgomery would enjoy a 5-star review as well.
Yeah,
and
3.7.
J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins, by the way, to kind of continue this conversation, J.K. Dobbins, and again, Bill Barnwell has them ranked 15, the Baltimore Ravens, for their situation, for their receivers, tight ends, running backs. He has them ranked higher than the Lions. And here's my problem with it for J.K. Dobbins, because if you're going to write he averaged just under 6 yards per carry as a pro, one of those seasons, and again, you look at the carries are important. 134 carries for J.K. in his rookie year, averaged 6 yards per carry. We know that, played in 15 games. The following year, he played in 8 and got 500 yards. So he was roughly on a pace to get about 1,000 yards last season. But still, 6 yards per carry in 8 games, it's not a huge sample size. And David Montgomery has played in more games in his career. And again, you're playing in Chicago with a significantly worse offensive line, a significantly worse quarterback. Even for David Montgomery to lead the NFL and be up there in broken tackles every single year, there is part of it, I think, for David Montgomery that gets disrespected. Like to say he's a downgrade from Jamal Williams, who Jamal Williams in his career, even with Green Bay, has always been a guy you come in for just to be your power back, to go in, get you 400, 500 yards a season. Then he comes to Detroit with Ben Johnson's play calling, with that offensive line, with more weapons around him, with Jared Goff, and has a breakout season. So this isn't an anomaly. Like, there's a reason for this. And I think David Montgomery, in the same situation, will have similar numbers, maybe not touchdowns, because again, a lot of those touchdowns, people forget, were at like the 1 yard line. So it's not like he was running, breaking free for 30-yard touchdown runs. He did it a couple times, but David Montgomery to me is not a downgrade. He writes in this article he's a downgrade, but that is incorrect.
No, and I'm going to be known universally probably until however long as the biggest David Montgomery hater at this network, and I am not. And even I would say that David Montgomery is definitely not a downgrade. All I've said is that be careful about propping up David Montgomery like he's the savior of the running back position. I was all down on just being happy we got him for a cheap contract, all of that, just being an upgrade over Jamal Williams. But the disrespect I've seen Lions fans just throw at Jamal Williams, even though he had last season, offensive line aided, albeit, the single greatest season a Detroit Lions running back has had since Barry Sanders.
But what is that?
I get it. Okay.
But if you take Jamal Williams, you put him in, let's just say for the sake of the conversation, Chicago last year. What do you think Jamal Williams is doing?
He's probably doing something similar to what David Montgomery did.
He's having like,
David Montgomery had 801 yards.
David Montgomery had 800 yards, and he probably should have had like 500.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Especially when you're considering they're running Justin Fields, who's taking it 7 yards to the house, so that's going to affect David Montgomery's stats.
And they clearly believe in David Montgomery. I mean, you give him a $6 million annual contract, 3 years for $18 million. I mean, they believe in him.
The Lions had a game plan against this guy twice a year. They know he is a problem. And you go around the NFL, there's multiple videos of people talking about, like, yeah, David Montgomery, he's not the most ideal running back to have compared to, like, your Christian McCaffreys or anything like that. But David Montgomery, by far, gives you everything a running back could. Yeah, he runs like a low 4.5. But when you're having a linebacker in your face, he's going to run him over, get 5 extra yards, and now you bring in Jahmyr Gibbs. And that's the role why I'm so happy about David Montgomery, because if he was our only running back, Flannel, yeah, I would be with you. I'd be like, yeah, he's going to be a good running back, but he's not going to just have some lethal rushing attack. And what David Montgomery brings with Jahmyr Gibbs is what I'm so excited about.
And to address this comment too, Booner says, with some of your points here, Jeff and Lucas, David Montgomery better come in here and have 1,200 plus yards and 15 touchdowns. And who's saying that?
That's like why? Like Jamal Williams. If we really want to go there, Jamal Williams had 17 touchdowns because in the red zone, who are you throwing to? You don't have a big play. What, you have Josh Reynolds? No, you're not going to do that. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's a nice short route demon that if it's like a 6-yard like we saw against the Jaguars, hit him on a 6-yard out in the red zone, that's nice. When you have Jamal Williams, who is a good power back, just like David Montgomery, he's going to do it. And now the Lions just got even more weapons. They have a true tight end in Sam Laporta. They just brought in Jahmyr Gibbs. Jamison Williams is going to be back. They now have a true red zone wide receiver, Marvin Jones. The touches are not going to be spread out the same. But the impact of what David Montgomery is going to be able to do, drive to drive, the impact he's going to have on the defense, no one was worried about Jamal Williams catching a ball out of the backfield. You have to worry about David Montgomery catching a ball out of the backfield, because if he does, now he's going to be one-on-one with the safety. He's probably going to break that tackle because he's with Nick Chubb and the most broken tackle in the league. And he can make a move after that. Jamal Williams, you don't have to worry about that ever.
Well, this is my problem, too, and I want to address Booner's comment because nobody's saying that David Montgomery is one of the best backs in the NFL. Like, relax. No. We're not saying that. All I'm saying is he's better than Jamal Williams. And if you don't agree with that, I don't know what to tell you. Like, get eyeballs, I guess. But for David Montgomery, the expectations I have, it's not similar to what Jamal did last year. Jamal almost had... Well, he had 262 carries last season. 262. You know what the most amount of carries David Montgomery's had in his career? 247. So 247, Jamal cleared him. And the reason why Jamal was used as much as he was is because DeAndre Swift was unhealthy. He was hurt. Like, he was in the position he was in because they had no other running back. Craig Reynolds, Jamar Jefferson.
What's it?
This is why he played as well as he did. This year, I don't expect Jahmyr Gibbs to play in half the games. I expect Jahmyr to be healthy.
Look how good Justin Jackson.
In that instance, if Jahmyr's healthy, you're not going to have the same production. David will not have the same production as Jamal Williams. Now, if you put David Montgomery in that same situation and no Jahmyr Gibbs for half the season, maybe we can have an argument. But I don't think you can compare. It's apples to oranges. The situation Jamal Williams was in last year will not be the same as David Montgomery this year with Jahmyr Gibbs, but he's better. Does that make sense?
He is better, and I think, and Lucas said something on the previous show we were talking about it, which I agree with, and I know you've reiterated. I think that David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs in combination can be a damn good running back duo because their skill set complements each other well, and Jahmyr Gibbs definitely, especially in the first 6 games, is going to be used a lot as a pass catcher. I don't know about David Montgomery so much. But at the same time, I'm hearing a lot of sort of downplaying every single accomplishment that Jamal Williams had last year. I understand that he was in a lot of ways the goal line touchdown merchant, but the motherfucker literally broke the franchise record for rushing touchdowns in a season. It happened.
But okay, so he broke Barry's record. Was he playing anywhere even close to the level that Barry Sanders was
not
playing?
Not even a fraction.
And that's what we're trying to say is we're not downplaying what Jamal Williams is, but we're taking it for what it is.
Yes.
Jamal Williams, outside of the red zone, what was Jamal Williams doing? He was getting 4 or 5 yards of carries, keeping the drive alive, keeping the Lions ahead of the chains, and in the red zone, he'd get in there. And that's exactly what you pay Jamal Williams to do. They're paying David Montgomery more because they know David Montgomery can do, and that's more than Jamal Williams. And just everything I'm saying about David Montgomery and Jamal Williams, I would say the same thing about Jahmyr Gibbs and DeAndre Swift. That's why it's just like, this makes no sense at all.
I like this comment from Chuck. He says, and Chuck's always dropping facts. I love Chuck.
No, he's not.
He says he is.
No, he's not.
You just don't like you just don't like the information. It's still true. It's true information. Chuck says, if Swift plays 15 games, how many TDs does Williams actually end up with?
Less. I get it. But here's the thing, though, and you guys are completely downplaying this. Jamal Williams filled in admirably. He had 1,000 yards. He kept the running game going. You guys act like Jamal Williams is just and in a lot of ways he is. He is at his core probably a replacement level running back. But at the same time, in his career at his top end, and I know this is context free, and Lucas, you bring up a lot of good points. His career high in rushing yards for a season is 1,066. David Montgomery's is 1,070, and they both have had exactly 1,000-yard season. And I am so tired of hearing the whole argument. David Montgomery had 1,000 all-purpose yards every year of his career. That's not that big of a deal. Getting 1,000 all-purpose yards is not a big deal.
It is when you.
No, it's not.
For this exact conversation, because let's go look back at Jamal Williams in Green Bay when he was their number 2 running back and he was the receiving back. He wasn't even having close to the production that David Montgomery was having.
Fine,
and now he's
that's
going
fair.
And so that's what I'm saying. Take them both at the same level. David Montgomery is clearly the better back. That's why I'm not downplaying it, but we're being real. We're seeing that Jamal Williams and even Justin Jackson both are playing out of their minds for what they truly are. So now let's come back to reality, realize what each player is, and evaluate them. Stats outside of it. I'm not saying Jamal Williams didn't have one of the best seasons in Lions history. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is he was an okay back who had a great season. Kind of just like, it's like the Josh Jacobs thing on a smaller level. I think Josh Jacobs is a good back, but he had everything go right for him last season. So that's why statistically you could be like Josh Jacobs was the best running back last year, but was he? No.
And let's be real here, to kind of put a cap on it, you even would agree with this, because I get what Jamal did, but even before the season, there's a reason why you thought DeAndre would lead the NFC in rushing.
Oh, and that's fair.
With Jamal on the roster.
And that's
like that kind of shows what we think you thought of Jamal at the time.
And that's the funny thing about the evolution of Jamal Williams and me, because going in the offseason in Hard Knocks, I thought people were way overrating Jamal Williams. I don't like his antics, by the way. A lot of Detroit fans think it's cute. I never liked it. I thought that whole speech he gave where he cried was fake as fuck. But anyway, as the season actually played out and DeAndre Swift did what he always does and get hurt, which I bet it's not happening, and Jamal Williams actually stepped up and showed it on the field within a 1,000-yard season, I grew to respect Jamal Williams more. And I'm not saying that David Montgomery is not an upgrade. I'm just saying that there's always a downplaying of everything Jamal Williams did. But when it comes to David Montgomery and why in 2 seasons he averaged less than 4 yards per carry, I get that there's some context, but there's always a reason. The bottom line is last season, and this is a fact, when you look at the numbers, he was the 3rd best rushing threat on his own team after Justin Fields and Khalil Herbert.
Now, why is that, though? Now explain to me why that is.
Oh, hold on. We're gonna, as much as no, trust me, we could talk about this all day. We got to get to the New York Jets now having Hard Knocks, because I know Sam's gonna love that. I'm gonna go after Sam next segment. You guys are gonna want to stick around for that. But before we do, if I want to get like Jamal Williams and I want to handle over 260 yards or carries, in an NFL season, where can I work out?
Well, he has the durability to do so, and a lot of it is because he obviously works out at Planet Fitness, just like myself. And someday I can only hope to become like Jamal Williams, but probably not. But anywho, if you are one of those teenagers who's hoping to become an aspiring athlete or just wants to get a workout, you can work out for free all summer long if you're a teenager in the United States and Canada between the ages of 14 and 19. You can register today, get access to the club for free until August 31st. And for anybody else who's looking for a great gym and looking for a workout, go to any Planet Fitness across the country. You can get a membership starting at only $10 a month, or you can upgrade to the Black Card and get all the other extra amenities like being able to work out at any Planet Fitness across the United States for only $24.99 per month. Join today in club online, or get like Jeff Iafrate, who's been working on his guns just like me. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper. Tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Jeff Iafrate here, and your childhood may be over, but playtime is certainly not. Outdoor Equipment Company is your source for outdoor power equipment, sales, service, and parts, carrying top brands such as Bad Boy, LS Tractor, Stihl, and much more. Servicing the Great Lakes region with locations in Metro Detroit and Greater Lansing. For more information, visit them at OutdoorEquipCo.com. Outdoor Equipment, your power equipment playground. We're off and running here on the Morning Woodward Show here on Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, and Alex Westfall. Thank you all for sticking with us. If you're watching live, leave a like on the YouTube stream. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Continue to chime in on the YouTube chat thread. And if you're watching on the website, check out our merchandise, articles, and much more. And if you can't catch the show live, it's okay. You can re-listen to it at any podcast app you listen to. Spotify, Apple, whatever you got. It has Morning Woodward Show. Go leave a 5-star review for Sam and his wonderful flannels. But Sam, to start with you, because I know this segment you love, the New York Jets, your team, by the way,
My
with
team.
Aaron Rodgers, the team you believe in that I just can't quite believe in the same. They're hosting Hard Knocks. They didn't want it. They were pretty adamant about it. We don't want nothing to do with Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks says, too bad, Aaron. Screw you and your ayahuasca. Here's Hard Knocks. And I think it's the perfect team. I do. Aaron Rodgers, Sauce Gardner, the personalities they have, Robert Saleh, and mix with that the drama. Anywhere Aaron is, you know there's going to be a little ounce of drama. You just know it. So putting a camera behind the scenes with the New York Jets, I think, is the perfect situation. It's the most interesting situation because, again, the Jets have high expectations. They're AFC contenders to you. Would you agree? Okay.
Oh, yes.
I don't, but you agree. But still, what are your thoughts on it? New York Jets, and again, I don't think this affects Aaron Rodgers because, again, I made this point earlier. Whether Hard Knocks affects him or not, he's going home in the playoffs early, Sam.
Oh, okay.
So just give him Hard Knocks.
Oh, you're funny, Jeff Iafrate. I'll tell you what. I would love to watch this season's AFC East champs and how they go about their business and how they go about their offseason because that is the AFC East champions. They're going to lose to the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead in the AFC Championship game. I can see it now.
So you're telling
me
Rodgers is going to shrink again on the road? Is that what you're essentially saying?
In the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs, nobody goes into Arrowhead and wins.
Not making it that far. Child, please. Child, please.
Got Almond Russ St. Clown.
Continue. Flannel.
All right. Okay, but yes, the New York Jets, they are as interesting as you can possibly be. Say what you want about Aaron Rodgers. I know a lot of people in Detroit hate him, and I don't blame you guys. I don't like him when he's carving apart the Detroit Lions either, which, to be fair, he did not do last year, but did for most of his career. I didn't like that either. But in response to all of your guys' blind hatred and disrespect, I have grown to be kind of an Aaron Rodgers fan in a lot of ways because I respect his career, 4-time MVP, Super Bowl MVP. But anywho, I just want to see Aaron Rodgers as a personality behind the scenes, how he interacts with a lot of the young up-and-coming players, because the New York Jets, I know a lot of people want to get mad when I predict them to win the AFC East, but do they have a lot of really damn good pieces? I always bring this up. Breece Hall probably would have been Rookie of the Year if he would have stayed healthy. Garrett Wilson was the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Sauce Gardner was the Defensive Rookie of the Year and was first-team All-Pro. Quinnen Williams is one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, and that defensive line around him is pretty damn good with John Franklin Myers, Carl Lawson, and Quentin Jefferson. They also have C.J. Mosley and the linebacking core, and not to be outdone, one of your guys, DJ Reed, playing opposite Sauce Gardner at the cornerback position with Adrian Amos and Jordan Whitehead as the dual safeties, which I think are pretty good. All of that being said, I want to see how this all works out, how they all interact with Aaron Rodgers, how he leads this team, how he interacts with the coaching staff, because the New York Jets are going to be the beacon of interesting no matter what. And that is one thing, Jeff Iafrate, Lucas, that you cannot deny. You are going to be tuned in because you want to see how this all goes.
Listen, if Aaron Rodgers, cited ayahuasca is why he won the MVP. If you're going to win a Super Bowl, he needs cocaine. You need something more than ayahuasca. Maybe meth. I don't know what.
Down to Toledo.
I don't think there's any drug or any psychedelic on this planet that can help Aaron win a Super Bowl. I just don't. I don't think so. But I do want. I'm here for the drama. I'm here for the tea. I want to see Aaron Rodgers. I want to see the New York Jets. Quinnen Williams, I think, is an underrated part of this because I think he's hilarious. I think Quinnen Williams. Didn't he bless himself after he sneezed? I think that's Quinnen Williams.
That was Quinnen Williams, yeah.
So I'm cool with Quinnen Williams. I just want to see the Aaron Rodgers tee. I do, Lucas.
Flannel, you're right. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how Aaron Rodgers and the Jets somehow either miss the playoffs or they get bounced out in the first round with all this talent. There's going to be so much hype around this team, and every year. When's the last time a Hard Knocks team went to the playoffs?
Well, the last time that they made an AFC Championship game was actually...
No, we're talking about a Hard Knocks team. not the Jets, a Hard Knocks team.
No, the last time a Hard Knocks team made an AFC Championship game appearance was the New York Jets in 2010.
That's with Braylon.
That's what was with Braylon, Mark Sanchez, that defense.
Sanchez,
yeah.
So yeah, I still expect the Jets to miss the playoffs. I think even if they make the playoffs, they're getting bounced out in the first round. So seeing how the hype will develop and Robert Saleh juicing up the guys, like this is our year. Josh Allen, Mike McDaniel down in Miami, they don't stand a chance. Bill Belichick, not a chance. The Jets, honestly, they might finish like third or fourth in the AFC.
Well, you know what? I don't know if Aaron Rodgers, he's got that dog in him like Mark Sanchez does.
Okay.
But honestly, stop it. I see this
in
team.
2010. Mark Sanchez got that dog in him, Sam. So if Aaron Rodgers can even dream to be Mark Sanchez and take the Jets to an AFC title game, I'm intrigued to see it because, again, I think it'd be a nice, I guess, complete 180, or I guess 360, however you want to look at it, from the Jets where they were in 2010 to all the years up until where they are now, which are contenders. I just think they're more pretenders, but that's fair. But is it fair to say that Aaron Rodgers in New York is under a lot of pressure in a big market to not just, I don't think winning a playoff game would be okay with any Jets fan. I think they expect them to make a Super Bowl or come close to making a Super Bowl. I just don't think the Jets are that team. I think the Bills are going to win their division.
I don't hate that. I think they're going to go down to the wire. I think Josh Allen is another one of those guys that has gotten way too slandered by certain people who sit at this desk and the next show, Neil Rule. But anywho, let's when it comes to the New York Jets, it's fair to have a few questions about Aaron Rodgers because as much as I like him, as much as I respect him, he did have the worst season of his career last year. And some of his worst moments were against the Detroit Lions, which, to the surprise of some, I was actually happy about.
Well, you always get more nervous when you play while your father's watching. Like Kirby.
Yeah, the pressure was on.
Yeah, like your dad shows up to the game, you're a little nervous, you want to impress him. Like, I get that. Kirby's there. Aaron's, of course, going to struggle.
God, and this is why, even though Aaron Rodgers pretty much has been the Detroit Lions' father throughout most of his career, Kirby Joseph has a couple of big games against Aaron Rodgers, intercepted 3 times, which I was happy about, and now all of a sudden he's Aaron Rodgers' father. And people say it with a straight face. That is why sometimes my fellow Lions fans, and I hate to say this about you guys, can be a little insufferable. And I know you're probably
name another man that's done that. Picked him off 3 times. He doesn't even play another game. He's like, I'm out of here.
You know, that's actually a good point because Aaron Rodgers.
You mean retreat from the conference?
Okay, Motor City Dan Campbell. Okay, Motor City Dan Campbell. But Aaron Rodgers, when you look at historically the greatest quarterbacks of all time, he's the only one who just doesn't throw interceptions. He has a phenomenal touchdown to interception ratio. So not very many defensive backs have done that to him. That is fair. And Kirby Joseph is damn promising, and he already looks like that ball hawk safety. But this whole Kirby Joseph is Aaron Rodgers' father thing, I thought it was funny at first.
Then it turned into factual.
It's not factual.
Well, it's just odd, Sam. I mean, his rookie year, Kirby's on the scene, and Aaron struggles for the first time in quite some time.
Kirby was his wake-up call. Kirby, he was like, you know what? I don't think I can just keep statting up the NFC North anymore. I think I got to actually try to win.
Yeah.
Green Bay ain't got the pieces for me, so now I'm going to go to even more tough division in the AFC East, throw against Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, Javon Holland. Bill Belichick always has a nice defense, or Davius White, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Kerry Elam. So, yeah. I'm excited to see what Aaron Rodgers does against a legit division this year. And he did do last year.
And I think Aaron Rodgers has some character concerns because he didn't even get Kirby anything for Father's Day.
I asked,
he didn't even send him a card or anything. So I thought that was disrespectful. But shout out to Dante for the $5. He says Colin Cowherd has the Dolphins winning the AFC East. Man, to bank on Tua's health is one thing. I don't know. That's a big question mark to me.
The biggest thing with Miami for me, and it's not that I don't think they will, but it's one of those things where I need to see it until I can prove it to myself, is I need to see Miami late in the season go on the road in cold weather and still be the same offense that they were. I have no issue with Miami's defense. I think Miami's defense is going to be top 8 in the league. But Tua, who's I think is going to be a good quarterback, but he's one of those guys that's going to have to play point guard in order for him to succeed, which he's in right now. He's got to be able to prove on the road late that he can win.
Well, Aaron Rodgers, I don't got no ayahuasca for you, but I do got some cannabis for you from our wonderful friends
the Goats
at Dispo, which will be live on Friday at the Romeo location, June 30th. All 4 shows, it's going to be packed, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Show up to Dispo in Romeo. I'm telling you right now, it's the most beautiful, I guess, cannabis mall you'd call it, you'll ever see. I'm not lying. Come there, show love, show some support, walk out with some wonderful cannabis products. They'll hook you up. They're wonderful bud tenders. It's the ultimate cannabis experience. Located at 100 Schaefer Drive in Romeo, Michigan. See you there this Friday at Dispo Dispensary, your local cannabis plug.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
We're back here. It's the Morning Woodward Show on Woodward Sports Network. We're closing in on the end of the show, but thank you guys for sticking with us. Again, Jeff Iafrate, your host, as usual. Sam Flannel, my partner in crime. JB, Lucas Klotz, Alex Westfall. And it's time.
It is
for
time.
arguably the best segment on the network. What's trending with Lucas Klotz? It's arguable. It's arguable, Lucas. What's trending with
more
Lucas
time, it'll be up there.
Klotz. Lucas, what do you got for us?
So we were talking about the Bears receiving core earlier. And look at Chase Claypool. Look at what this man is wearing, okay? How are you going to call yourself a man wearing a knitted sweater with holes in it? Look at this guy. I saw this yesterday. I want to be appalled. And this is the receiver they're saying is making the Bears one less spot than the Lions.
You know what's messed up? Rich people to look good wear ripped clothes, and poor people don't want to wear ripped clothes. Like, what is up with rich people wearing outfits they think, like, is this stylish? Holes in your shirt? Or your sweater?
Flannel, you wearing this?
No, I'm certainly not wearing that. And the thing about Chase Claypool is I've said that the Chicago Bears receiving core is going to be better next year, and it'll make Justin Fields better. But I'll tell you what, the way Chase Claypool finished the season with the Bears, parlayed with that disastrous outfit, I'm starting to be this much closer to being out completely on Chase Claypool. That was inexcusable.
And the chick isn't even bad. You
no,
think
she's not.
Claypool,
she's not.
Light-skinned, tall guy, millionaire? Chick is mid.
Okay, well, Wheezy D.
Lucas, you're 1,000% right. Chase Claypool, I recognize a good-looking man when I could see one. 6'5", jacked, mixed, all of that, and that's the one that you come up with?
You got a thing for Chase Claypool?
He's a very handsome man.
Okay.
That's all right.
What
did he say?
What did he say? Wheezy D says, what is he wearing? What he wearing ain't as bad as what he's holding. He down bad.
That's what I'm saying. The big hair?
Lucas, I'm so glad you brought that up, bro.
That's like, dude. This is not NFL player. Like, if I'm getting a wife and I'm in the NFL, that's what I settle for. That's where it's like, wow, I got allegations going around me. I'm going overseas and getting me one. But moving on, and we just talked about a Lions or a Bears player. Let's do some Lions news. Yesterday, Jack Campbell, it was released that his girlfriend did a little Quandre Diggs impersonation on him, and she lays this man off of the top rope.
Oh my God!
What I saw a lot of the main thing I was hearing on Twitter yesterday was like, don't hurt the man, but I mean, if Jack Campbell, if this man has a wifey like that, unlike Chase Claypool over there, this man. He's not going to miss.
Yeah.
Having a wife like that, you don't miss.
Well, that's great form, number one. I mean, she clearly, she's watched Jack over the years, and the form is A1. Now, to do something like that, for Jack to be that, to have that type of balance at the size, what is he, 6'5", 240? Like, it's pretty great.
That is pretty great. And who has the better form tackles, Jack Campbell or his fiance at this point? We obviously hope Jack Campbell, but that was perfect. Do they practice together, maybe behind closed doors, just having tackling drills or whatnot? Because you don't just get that kind of form naturally. You don't just luck into it. Lucas and Jeff, you guys know when you first start playing football, tackling is hard. There's a technique to it.
Not when you're me. You just go out there and you put motherfuckers on their ass.
Yeah, and that's fine. I've openly admitted that I'm no athlete. And Lucas Klotz, is, what is it, you're what is it? My ceiling is your floor. Probably when it comes to
my
athletics.
ceiling is your floor.
Okay, fair enough.
Everything you could ever wish to do, I've already done.
Damn.
Well, wait, you said your ceiling is his floor, aren't you?
I think I said it right.
Yeah.
Wait, no,
Flannel got me
Lucas,
right.
we can roll
I
with
somehow
that.
messed up my own saying.
I love this comment. Derek, we'll start with Wheezy D. He says, good wrap-up for him. She got the fundamentals. Yeah, that's true. I like this comment. Derek says, sign her up. She could take Anzalone's job.
Oh, God.
Alex, man.
You know who, look at this. This is another
caught a
video
stray.
I found. JB.
Anzalone caught a stray.
I mean, I can understand it, though.
Yeah.
had a good year.
Can't be too upset.
Well, we're going to take any Lions slander out here, and we're all going to be very happy. This is from earlier in the season, but I found it on Twitter yesterday, and this video never fails to make me laugh. So,
what is it?
This is the definition of a Packers It gets worse. Look how big this fan is actually.
The best.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
That man took a tumble.
There's no way.
Jesus, dude.
That had me so weak, man. If you ever go, I've been to a Cleveland Browns game multiple times, and I can tell you that.
How bad is it?
That every fan at a Cleveland Brown game acts and looks exactly like that. Because you think about it, the Cleveland Browns, they're terrible. They're out. If you could imagine having Detroit outside and not have a dome, and then be that bad, every game's like that. Every game, every Cleveland Browns game, never go to it. Never go to it. Been to way too many myself.
I see some of these comments saying, I thought that was Spencer at first.
Don't do my boy Spenny like that.
No, that... I mean, dude, there's constantly idiots at these sporting.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you drink, and especially for a guy like that, a Packers fan, and I don't even want to. Packers fans are Packers and Bears fans. Maybe it's because we know them the I guess the most well because they're in our division. They're so bad.
Yeah.
You go to a Packers game, like how bad fans are, especially and Chicago as well. I'm not shocked, but this is the society we live in. A lot of dumbass fans out there. So.
Absolutely. And the Bears fans this year, they're doing a lot of chirping. And obviously, I'm one of the people that thinks the Bears are going to be more decent than some. But the Bears fans, if they think that they're actually going to overtake the Lions in the division, that is where I draw a hard line. They are not. This is the Lions division. And the Bears fans, I think they're going to go 0-2 against the Lions this year. That's for damn sure.
I could see the Lions splitting, but I agree with you. And a huge reason why the Lions are going to be, this is the Lions' year, is because of their safeties. They have 3 solid safeties, and yet, for some reason, CBS Sports decided to say that, you know what, none of them are a top 10. Even though C.J. Gardner-Johnson arguably was the best safety in the NFL last year, they're saying Kyle Duggar is at 10.
Yeah.
And they're leaving C.J. Gardner-Johnson off this. So I want to get your guys' opinions on this. What do you think of this list? How disrespectful of it? And where do you think C.J. will land at the end of the year? Or Kirby?
I mean, this is just ridiculous. I think Kirby's going to be in this list in a year or so. I think Kirby is just a matter of when, not if. For C.J., though, I mean, you get 6 picks in 12 games, Sam.
Yeah.
The resume's the resume. Like, I don't think, I don't know how you can have a top 10 list and not have C.J. Gardner-Johnson in that list.
I mean, Kyle Duggar is the only one on this list that I think is egregious, because there's a lot of good safeties in the NFL. You look at guys like Derwin James and Mika Fitzpatrick, Hufanga from San Francisco, who was an All-Pro last year. I don't necessarily think that he's better than they are yet, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, but at the end of the year, I could definitely see him being maybe the 5th to 7th best safety in the NFL. I think that's his ceiling.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Guys, thank you, Lucas, for that. Great content as usual. We're going to get to mailbag time. Drop your questions for Sam, me, Lucas, JB, whoever it is. Leave your questions below. We're going to go to break. When we get back, we'll get to mailbag and we'll finish out the show. But before we do that, SMA, I got to tell you about them. Our friends over at SMA, the sports marketing agency, helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, this is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, tell them, or even yourself, to head to thesportsma.com for more information.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, and Alex Westfall. Get your questions ready. We'll get to as many as we can. Now, to start mailbag, Chad Fisher to start us off. Question for Flannel. Will Blake Corum leave a legend after this season?
Oh, 100% he will. You could argue that he's on that path right now because at the end of the season, he is going to be a prominent member of 3 consecutive Big Ten championship winning Michigan teams. He might even lead this team in rushing again, although I think Donovan Edwards is the better overall back. Absolutely. And he will be arguably a leading rusher on a national championship winning Michigan team. 100% he will be a Michigan football legend. No doubt about it.
And Lions Troll says, male satchel. Love that. With all our DBs, who starts in your early opinion? I think a lot of that's kind of self-explanatory. I think at corner, you'd expect Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley when he gets 100% healthy, Kirby Joseph, Tracy Walker, CJ. I think there's a scenario in which all those guys can play together. So if you're talking about guys that won't start, I think Brian Branch, clearly one of those guys. Jerry Jacobs you'll see some of, but I think the secondary is pretty much laid out as it is.
Yeah.
Those guys you think are the best in the secondary, they're going to play.
Yeah,
all of them.
I would tend to agree. If we're just looking at position by position, Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph.
Yep, no question about it. Gets to some more of these questions. Jack Harrington says, why is Lucas, or how is Lucas such a stud? Lucas, your response to that?
I mean, I've talked about it before. When you're just an alpha male, just a pit bull guy who goes out and gets
guys did this.
It's genetic, I think. I think he just runs through the genes, and I just piss out excellence.
No, you do not. Steve says, mailbag, did you see that Austin Reeves might be available? Interested? ? I mean, yeah. Not at the money I think he's going to command. Austin Reeves is like a solid offensive player. He can come in, a little spark off your bench. But for what I think he'll ask for, I don't know. I'm not in love with Austin Reeves as a pickup. But what about you, Sam?
You worry about Austin Reeves as one of those guys that really upped his game in the playoffs. You saw how important he was to the Los Angeles Lakers, but I don't know if that's who he is going forward. I mean, if the Pistons could get him on a cheaper contract, I would definitely consider it. But right now, I'd probably honestly rather him just go back to the Lakers. I think he fits in perfectly there.
Happy Camper Harry, excuse me. Jeff, with Lambier's Iron Man streak, I think you mean, his toughness, his total game, who do you win more titles with? Who do you win more titles with, I'm assuming you're trying to say? Him or the often injured yet talented Anthony Davis? Bill Lambier, Anthony Davis. Who are you winning more titles with?
Well, that's clearly Anthony Davis.
You sure?
Do people not remember? And I know a lot of people have short-term memory at this point or just don't want to believe it, but Anthony Davis was the second best player on a Lakers team in 2020.
At least I know Bill will be there.
Okay, but Anthony Davis is there in the playoffs. He was great in those playoffs. You know what his averages were in the entire playoffs? 28, 10, and 4 on 56% shooting from the floor and 37% from 3, or it was either 57 and 38. That is phenomenal. Bill Lambier, I have no problems with Bill Lambier. He was obviously an integral piece of those bad boy Pistons teams. I think he actually has a case for the Hall of Fame that would probably usurp Ben Wallace's, honestly, because of the way he can stretch the floor.
I don't know. Listen, your Hall of Fame qualifications, I think everybody gets in. I don't know, but then Ben doesn't. So I don't know.
Nope.
Karl Anthony Towns, Chris Middleton, you're good, but Ben, you stay over.
You said Karl Anthony Towns should be?
He will be.
So do you believe Karl Anthony Towns is more valuable of an NBA Hall of Famer than Ben Wallace?
Yes, he will be.
We'll leave it at that. We'll continue some of these questions. Bogar says, mailbag, Zadina and the 17th pick for DeBrincat. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you kidding?
Yeah. That's not even a debate.
You run to the podium. Or whatever, whoever you do the table.
You pick up the phone call and you say, will do. And then hang up the phone call.
Absolutely.
So and we'll talk more. We're going to talk a lot of NHL draft tomorrow with Mike as well. He'll be joining us, our Red Wings beat reporter for Woodward Sports. Stay tuned for that. Let's see. Chuck says, mailbag, Broder, Lucas, and Jeff. Is it true Sam gets roasted as much in the back as he does in chat? No, actually, it's I guess it depends. Sam doesn't get roasted. I mean, we love Sam, but Sam is a man who is he believes in his opinions and he stands by them. So yes, we have debates in the back, but I wouldn't say he gets roasted. We just have interesting debates all the time.
Hey, we do have interesting debates, and I will always take pride in the fact that I have warped a lot of the people in the chat's brain to the point where they think numbers are the most useless thing in the world just because you don't like me. Bias.
No,
That's what gets you the Hall
we
of
all
Fame.
bust each other.
Hey,
well, I'm not going to say that.
what about
we
this?
all give each other a hard time.
Yeah, we
but
do. Of
Flannel,
course.
Flannel has
Of
it
course.
coming to him just because, man, the takes that he has sometimes, just at least for me, just enrages me.
What about this one? Big Dan Davis, mailbag. The Pistons fired Beeline yesterday. I know Easy's happy about that one. Should Michigan fire Juwan Howard and bring back Beeline to clean up the mess Howard left last year?
100% they should. Under John Beeline, he had them humming in a way that they hadn't been humming since the late 80s, early 90s with the Glenn Rice National Championship winning team in the Fab Five. And what John Beeline built between 2013 and 2018 was arguably the best program in the Big Ten, the best NBA factory in the Big Ten, and what Juwan Howard did is come in and burn it to the ground to the point where they are probably going to be a 7-win Big Ten team next year in conference and maybe have a losing record. Bring back John Beeline today, fire Juwan Howard in disgrace, and his legacy at Michigan will be forever tarnished even though he was a great player there. Bye-bye, Juwan.
Bye-bye, Juwan is correct.
I would love that so much, my God.
Lucian says, mailbag, who's more likely to make the playoffs, Colts or the Texans?
Oh, God. I would probably say oh my God. I like CJ Stroud more than Anthony Richardson for the record. But the Colts, they do have some nice pieces. They got Jonathan Taylor. They got Quentin Nelson. They have
That's the thing.
Formerly Darius, now Shaquille Leonard. I think Michael Pittman's a good wide receiver. So
they have the better roster.
They do have the better roster, but I think Anthony Richardson is going to be bad.
And here's my issue with it. I agree with you. I like CJ a little more than Anthony Richardson, even though Anthony Richardson has an insanely high upside. I just think CJ's safer. He'll be fine. We know he'll be fine at the very minimum. You don't think so, but I do.
We know he'll be
Anthony
fine.
Richardson's boom or bust. And I like Shane Steichen better.
That's fair.
I like the situation better. So I'm going to go with the Colts, but man, a lot of that depends on Anthony Richardson. And that's tough.
Yeah.
That's really tough. I'm assuming you'd say the Colts as well.
Listen.
Because you have no faith in C.J. Stroud.
Anthony Richardson is 100% boom or bust, but C.J. Stroud is like mid or bust. And if you have a defensive head coach...
No, I don't think it's mid or bust. I think it's mid or elite. There's no bust.
So there's no bust potential with
I think
C.J.
the
Stroud.
bust, if you're talking between Anthony Richardson or C.J., I think there's more bust potential in Anthony Richardson.
Oh, I'm agreeing with you there, but I'm saying...
Every guy has a chance to bust. Pause.
Exactly.
But
the thing is, if you're C.J. Stroud in a piss-poor situation, he doesn't have a lot to work with.
Yeah, don't clip that.
Lucas,
don't clip that.
Over-under. Does C.J. Stroud have 11 touchdown passes and 22 interceptions his rookie year? Is that what you're calling for?
I'm saying C.J. Stroud's probably going to have, like, between 15, 20 touchdowns and, like, 10, 11 interceptions.
That's a pretty good rookie year, all things considered.
Well, I mean, he's going to be playing from behind, so he's going to be able to put up stats. So that's where the stats column kind of goes out the window for me.
My beautiful numbers.
I'll tell you what. Beautiful numbers, but especially the beautiful people tuning in at home. And I appreciate every single one of you for taking the time out of your morning to tune into the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. From Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, and Alex Westfall, the entire crew appreciates you. Drop a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel before you leave. And don't forget, if you rewatch the podcast or re-listen, leave a 5-star review for the boys. And until tomorrow, Gabby should be back tomorrow. She's having some delays coming back from Finland. We'll see you then.